Hello and welcome to my channel. Vice Rhino here. Cirrus over there. Cirrus not on his channel today.
I'm actually going to be stealing his channel, so I mean, this is actually my villain announcement. Just letting everybody know, especially Rhino. This is news to him too.
I mean, you already tried that once, didn't you?
I accidentally earned you a bunch of money when I did that. I'm sorry. That was not my intention, but it happened anyway.
Yeah. So, exciting things in my life. My kitchen is almost done. I have a new fridge. It only just arrived, so it's not quite cold yet. It's been plugged in for a few hours. And yeah, it's nice to like have a kitchen that makes sense now instead of one where like a third of our cupboard space was like blocked off by the stove being right up against it.
I know how you feel, as I've had my kitchen rebuilt twice in the time I've had it in the last 4 years.
Yeah, that sounds not fun. That sounds not fun.
It was not. It was not at all.
Well, my partner is at IKEA right now because we did all the cupboards through IKEA, and apparently one of the things that our contractor always runs into with every IKEA kitchen he's ever done is that they deliver too much of some things and not enough of others. So she is at IKEA as we speak, sorting that out.
Yeah. Well, at least IKEA is a good place to get lost in. There's lots of meatballs there.
Oh, someone just redeemed the thing where I'm supposed to wear hats.
You have hats to wear?
Well, if I was a professional streamer who came prepared, yes, I would.
Oh, I was kidding. You're a content creator, so you actually wear a lot of hats?
I am. Yeah. I have many hats.
You're a merchandise coordinator, a PR consultant. You also are a creative director. You have any idea how many pieces of a fucking corporate company being a content creator means we have to just pretend we know about?
Yeah, lots. Speaking of which, I can start working on my taxes now. Oh, fuck off! I can't drink with this wig.
Yeah, you can.
No, I can't. I gotta get the hair out of the way.
Ponytail, bro.
Yeah, no, not with this thing. Half the hairs would fall out. This was just some cheap thingamajig. So yeah, I don't know what the rules are with the hats off to you thing, whether I'm supposed to keep this on until someone redeems that again and then change, or if I can just take it off after a while, but this is coming off after a while if nobody redeems it to change it. Oh, we got Jassa Proxy says you need a barrister's wig. Yeah, I could do a barrister's wig. And then whatever yields maximum chaos, says Dark Excalibur.
You know, I always wondered.
How much do we need to donate to get him to take that stupid thing off? It's free on Twitch with the channel points. I just I forget how you earn them, but one of the ways you earn them is by just watching, and you get like so many points per minute.
You earn them passively, and then also there's a little like gamified interaction thing you can do every now and again, where you just click a button on the stream and it'll give you usually like 300 points if you're following. Which means, by the way, if you want to control Vice Rhino, you should probably go follow him over on Twitch. Subscribing is for YouTube unless you want to give him money, in which case.
Well, Gnome sent a $5 super chat, says money for our overlord Cirrus, except this is my channel, so that's my money now. Sorry, Cirrus.
Well, I already told you I'm taking it over. It was your channel.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
Now water your hole.
I mean, someone clipped that segment of us in the other stream with you saying that you will take my 6 inches. So just whoever clipped that, just put that alongside it when you do whatever fan art you're gonna do.
I'm surprised nobody's clipped the Cummies for Jesus moments that we had.
Oh, the thumbnail for my clip for that is fire. It's lit. I'm surprised YouTube monetized it. I was super surprised about that.
I've got 2 videos that we did during that stream that are sitting in demonetized land right now, and I'm waiting to see if YouTube will be merciful. I don't know if they will be, though. We'll see.
A hype train started. Someone's saying I think my notifications are coming in too loud. Because Axolotl with Cream says, "Man, I'm glad I have headphones in." And I'm sorry, I don't think when I set those up that I did record or control audio with OBS, so I'm not sure if I can change that. Let's see. Alerts. Twitch alerts. Properties. Control audio with OBS. And then, where'd you go? Turn your volume way the fuck down. Yeah, I think the other ones are less obtrusive.
Axo says, I'm sitting with family. Axo, you've been not only viewing for years, but you've been making art and fan art for years, which means you actually know better. You of all people know better.
Oh, okay. Actually, that reminds me. Anyone who listens to Dear Old Dads, okay, the wig's coming off because these hairs are just getting in my mouth. Anyone who listens to the Dear Old Dad podcast, which I'm sure I've promoted on this channel before because it's fucking amazing. And that little Navi Hay is my partner messaging me, probably telling me to measure something so I can tell her the measurements to pick up something at IKEA for.
Okay, thank you for adding the end there. Otherwise, I would have been a little more concerned about what she needed you to measure.
Well, we already know it's 6 inches and it goes inside your hole or whatever.
or whatever.
I don't know. You water the hole, but
yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. I forget my own lore. Oh no, that's an amount of money that I need to transfer into the account so that she can actually get out of IKEA.
Fair enough.
And shockingly, it's within budget. So make your bitches be shopping joke somewhere else.
Jesus.
Okay, so sorry for doing banking on stream with you guys, but she needs to come home.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. There have actually been times where I've done banking on stream, but in my case, it was because somebody donated an amount, and I was just like, okay, to make sure that I don't squirrel with this and use it on something I'm not supposed to, it goes to the bill now.
Yeah, Fusel says, Rhino Sexy Talk must be fun. Now I do whatever, I guess. Yeah, no, I actually am not good at the phone sex. It does not work with me.
What are you wearing? I don't know. A polo?
It's like, it's a t-shirt. What kind of t-shirt? Black one. It's like no, it's supposed to be like, my t-shirt is tight around my, definitely not a six-pack.
I bet you'd love to have that shirt off. You're right. It is kind of hot right now. Thank you for the suggestion.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Okay. All right. Now that anyway, I was talking about Dear Old Dads when I got distracted by needing to send money to my partner. Yeah, they did a Christmas bonus episode for patrons, and basically it went from this is how we do family fun Christmas time to can anal sex be cozy? With the general consensus being no, anal sex cannot be cozy. There's some disagreement as to whether vaginal sex could be cozy.
What do they mean by cozy in this context?
Like cozy. Like, you know, you have a nice cozy day, you curl up on the couch with a blanket and a mug of hot chocolate and everything's cozy.
Yeah.
Can you have that same cozy feeling while engaging in anal sex?
Are they saying that trans girls can't have cozy sex?
2 out of 3 of them were saying that nobody can have cozy sex because sex is not a cozy activity.
They have never done it very slowly then with a fireplace and like light music.
Yeah, but eventually it gets to a place where it's no longer slow and cozy, and
I will take that as a challenge.
They did make a joke about Sting and the tantric sex thing where you last like 7 hours.
Look, we have the word edging for a reason.
Anyway, on to some news articles. I got did some last minute changes to the stream format, so unfortunately I abandoned the introductory audio thing, so there's none of that. But for this one, that was the wrong button. I'm a professional. So for this one, just pretend that... Where is it? Where is it? God damn it. Where are you? Oh, there it is. There it is. Nope. What? Can you see the news article on your end?
I can see new gender critical caliphate.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I see nothing on my end.
Well, I see nothing now. It was there for a quarter second. There we go. New gender neutral caliphate. Inspired by simple questia.
What
now
the
it's
fuck
gone.
is going on?
I can already tell this one's going to be fun to edit.
Okay. Where is it going? There it is. Wow. I'm a pro. So anyway, before this one came up, it was supposed to play. I was going for the clip from the new crappy versions of Chronicles of Narnia, where one of the brothers hands a coat to Edmund, and Edmund's like, "But that's a girl's coat." He's like, "I know." And it's supposed to be like, haha, he made him wear a girl's coat as punishment. So anyway, new gender-neutral California toy law inspired by simple question from 8-year-old. So if you're unaware, I'm actually surprised that people aren't, like the right-wing people aren't freaking out about this, because this has been in the works for, since 2021. So this is Assembly Bill 1084, dating from 2021, forces retailers with 500 or more employees that sell childcare items or toys to maintain a gender-neutral section or area to be labeled at the discretion of the retailer. And that went into effect on January 1st. So what I am understanding from this, and I might be wrong, is that they don't necessarily have to make their entire toy section and clothing section or whatever gender neutral. It's just they have to have a gender neutral toy section. Like, this is clearly toys that are not geared towards either of the traditional gender toys.
Yeah, it's where you put like the Uno cards.
Yeah.
Because there's not like boy Uno and girl Uno. I mean, there probably was at one point, but I've never seen it.
I'm sure Jeremy Boring will come up with a version of Uno for that, if Uno ever does anything that he considers woke.
Do you want to play cards that aren't woke? Here, non-woke trading cards. You can get things like Matt Walsh with a beard.
Yeah. They say the punishment for not complying is $250 fine for the first offense, and then $500 for subsequent violations. That seems really, really light.
That's incredibly low. If you're a major retail store, that's
not even a slap on the wrist. That does not rise to the like that. That is, we lose more inventory to that, to people dropping it off the shelves and breaking in a day.
Yeah, like that's about how much I probably end up accidentally stealing from a grocery store because of the self-checkout stuff. I'm just like, oh fuck, this was in the cart. Well, I'm already out the doors. Like, that's probably the shrinkage that a store had to deal with because of me squirreling on my stuff I'm buying.
Yeah. So yeah, that's so it doesn't even rise to the level of slap on the wrist.
No, it doesn't.
Like, it's petty pocket change. And like, there's a minimum size, like you have to have at least 500 employees in California in order for this to actually affect you. So it's like the small stores where that might actually be an impactful fine are exempted from the law anyway. So it's kind of like a big old nothing burger where, like, if any store wants to just not comply, it'll cost them basically nothing.
So,
and I don't know if that could depend on how, so, like, this is across all of California. So if you are like, thank you, Razor Stormer, for the cheer. So like, if all of your locations are not gender neutral, do you get one $500 fine? Do you get a $500 fine per location? Is it $500 per day that you're not in compliance? Like, I feel like this is just a $500 fine when someone that works for the right department comes by and actually like sees it.
I think it would be that, because that's how OSHA violations work, right? Like, OSHA comes in, they don't go, yes, Walmart gets fined $3 billion because they had that many OSHA violations. It's OSHA walks in, sees a pallet that's put on its side and goes, all right, that's $1,200 for that. And if we have another person come in and finds another thing, that'll be another $1,200 fine. So,
Yeah.
like, okay, go.
Yeah.
OSHA violations were like $1,200 to $2,000 in Florida when I was working at Walmart, and that was not 20 years ago. I'm not that old. Fuck. That was like 12, 13, 14 years ago. So the money that's being asked for in this fine is like a tenth.
Yeah.
If you adjust for inflation, it's about a tenth of what your average OSHA violation was. And if you've ever worked retail or ever worked warehouse, you trip.
A lot of cash flows through those buildings.
Yeah, you kind of trip over that kind of shit all the time. There's no. This feels so tiny, and the only way that I think a right winger. So, like, if I were to be a right winger and I wanted to spin the story into something, I would have to omit the 500 person limit, and I would have to then blatantly lie and say that imagine you're a mom and pop store.
Yeah. That's okay. But that's what they do all the time anyway. Thank you for gifting the 5 subs, Razor Stormer. But yeah, that's what the right wing does with this sort of shit anyway. Like, have you seen? What is it? It was just in my head before I said thank you for the subs.
I don't know. I'm not in your head. I'm sorry. Much to fan artist chagrin.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll come back to me. But yeah, no, they just blatantly lie about this shit all the time. I mean, like, look at what we covered last year. This wasn't the example I wanted to go with, but like what we covered last week with Ron DeSantis and trans kids. Like, that's the big lie right now is that, like, oh, they're chopping little boys' dicks off just because they said they want to be a girl. You're like, no, that's not actually happening anywhere. You are blatantly lying about this because you've been told that never happens anywhere. So just stop.
What's funny is that when you point out, because I've had this argument in my comment section, because fun fact, content creators have this ritual where they wake up and they either check emails or go through their comment section, usually when we're taking a shit. So if I've argued with you in my comment section, just know I'm pooping. But I've had that argument with people on the one Matt Walsh video that his people keep on coming to. Where they'll start out saying, like, you're mutilating children's body parts. And then when you say it's not happening, there's always one of two roads that they go. Either they say, nuh-uh, it really is happening, and they don't bring anything. Or they'll, like, link to an article about somebody who's 17 and has been on hormone therapy for 2 years and has been on hormone blockers for 5, and like, this is the prime candidate for, we took the precautions for literally half their life and now this is what's happening as they're on the cusp of adulthood. Like, they'll show that and they'll go, see, I was right, that's a minor. Matt Walsh won't agree with it being a minor, but for my argument right now, it is.
I was just going to say, and then they'll turn right around and be like, no, it's okay for a 30-year-old to date a 17-year-old because that's basically an 18-year-old. Age is just a number anyway.
Yeah,
but then as soon as you suggest that providing gender-affirming care to a minor is something that should be done, they'll suddenly be like, oh, no.
Remember, 13 is too old to know if you're a boy or a girl. Or 13 is too old to know if you're a boy or a girl, but it is definitely old enough to know if you're a wife or a husband.
Yeah. Anyway.
Thanks, Tennessee.
Yeah, so this bill passed by 49-16, which I don't know what the makeup of the state legislature of California is, how much Republican versus Democrat. I feel like some Republicans joined in on that. Here, I can actually look that up. California State Legislature. Wikipedia. Does it just say there somewhere? Currently, 32 Democrats, 8 Republicans in the Senate. 62 Democrats, 18 Republican in the... I don't know, whatever the House? Do they call it? So 49-16, yeah, so... Okay. No, a bunch of people were absent for the vote.
Oh, boy.
But, yeah, signed into law. Co-author of the bill, Evan Lowe revealing that he was he revealed that he was inspired to introduce the legislation following an 8-year-old girl asking, "Why should a store tell me what a girl's shirt or toy is?" That's a valid question, because like that, these are conversations like right-wing people will often say like, "Oh, you can't talk about gay people to 4-year-olds because like a 4-year-old's not interested in sex one way or the other. They don't know if they're gay or not." What? First off, that's not necessarily true.
Force it on you.
Well, I mean, first off, that's not necessarily true. Secondly, straight people do this creepy thing where they'll be like, as soon as a girl and a boy start playing together, be like, "Oh, are you boyfriend and girlfriend?" They just assume they're heterosexual.
Are you dating?
And it's like, no, they're just playing. They're kids. They're like these people that pretend that kids don't like sexuality has nothing to do with children when it's a developing process. It does happen. Like, there are people who knew they were gay from a very young age. That doesn't mean that they were necessarily interested in sex right from there. But so
this one's me firing. Oh, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. So no, I was just going to say, like, I have had fairly deep conversations with my very young stepchildren about, because their dad is very much traditional gender role sort of thing, and he will tell them like, "Oh, you know, you can't wear pink because that's a girl's color," and so then they will come here being like, "Oh, but daddy says pink is a girl's color." They're like, "Okay," and I don't actually tell them, "No, there's no such thing as boy and girl's colors." I mean, I've probably said something along those lines at some point, but generally my approach is more, well, why is it a girl's color? What is
Socratic
it about
method, basically.
What is it about pink that makes it a girl's color? And they can never figure it out, and so that's what I will come and be like, okay, so if we can't think of any reasons why pink would be for girls and not boys, then why can't boys wear pink?
It's kind of the same thing that I'll get to what I was going to say before here in a second. But it's kind of the same thing you get when somebody tells like a really racist joke, right? Like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not speaking from a high horse of I've never said an edgy joke in my life, but the funniest response you can give to anybody who is just doing edgy humor for the sake of being edgy humor is going, "Why is that funny?
Can you explain that joke to me?
Can you explain the joke?" Yeah, like I'm a cis-het white guy, right? So that concept didn't occur to me ever until a friend of mine who is, you know, in the Georgia South with me and is Asian had a friend say a very racist joke to him, and he just kind of looked at him and went, "So why is that funny again?" Now, mind, this guy's not like super left or anything. This guy's like, he watches Tim Pool and shit, and yet that's still his response. He's just like, "Yeah, I just want you to explain to me why that was funny. I want to be in on the joke. So, you know, please share the humor with me." It makes people really uncomfortable a lot of times if they're not if they're not already comfortable with the idea that they're just saying something edgy for the sake of it being edgy. They flounder really, really hard. The thing I was going to say before is this is just hip firing. I have no research to back this up, but I have a feeling that one of the reasons why boys and girls at early ages might have more strained relationships is because of that societal expectation that if you're friends with somebody of the opposite gender, that must mean that you two are dating. That must mean that you two like each other. I have no data to back that up. It's just kind of an assumption I have, and, you know, from having lived a childhood.
Yeah, that sounds cromulent to me.
I actually don't know what that word means.
It's a word that was made up specifically for an episode of The Simpsons where it was, I believe the story goes that it was like a bet between writers that they could like make up a word and put it in and like have it pass muster. And that was the episode where Jebediah Springfield or Obadiah Spring, whatever his name is, where it's like, oh, a noble spirit embiggens the heart or whatever. And then I think that was Mrs. Krabappel's first appearance, and she was like, "I'd never heard the word embiggens before I moved to Springfield." And Miss Hoover replies with, "Oh, I don't see why not. It's a perfectly cromulent word."
Oh my God.
And so like embiggen was the fake word that was obviously fake, but they snuck cromulent in there where you could figure out exactly what it means from context, but it's just a word that they made up for it. I might have the details of the story wrong, but that is how I remember it. But also memories fucking suck. So
Yeah.
I could be entirely wrong.
Okay.
Jebediah.
Fair enough.
It's Jebediah Springfield.
Is that the okay? I need to watch more Simpsons.
That's one of the OG good episodes.
Yeah, I grew up watching Family Guy and watching South Park. I did not grow up watching The Simpsons, and I don't even know why, because it's not that like any of the humor was beyond the pale for what I was already watching. It's just not a thing that any of my friends watched, so I guess I never watched it with them and therefore didn't watch it myself.
Well, I think you're.
Yes.
I know you're not that much younger than me, but you might be enough younger than me that they were starting to get less than good when you were in your that style cartoon watching age.
Fair. I think the first Simpsons episode I ever watched was the only thing I remember about it was Homer was at a fair, and there was like a pea eating contest where he had to eat peas one at a time, and that was the only thing I could remember about it. It's just him eating peas one at a time with a fork.
I don't remember that.
It's gonna be one of those things where I sit down to watch it. I'm gonna see that and then just like have a brain blast of, oh my god, that's what it was, and then it will never be important to me ever again.
Yeah. Anyway, so this person says, the bill will help children express themselves freely and without bias. We need to let kids be kids. Remember that when we get to some of the objection to this. Help kids express themselves freely.
But only in the ways that we like.
Yeah, Jonathan Keller, president of the not-for-profit religious organization California Family Council. Remember what we said about organizations with family in the name?
Yep.
Said, we should all have compassion for individuals experiencing gender dysphoria, but activists and state legislatures have no right to force retailers to espouse government-approved messages about sexuality and gender. It's a violation of free speech, and it's just plain wrong. So allowing children the freedom to express themselves is somehow a violation of free speech.
Of course. Why wouldn't it be?
Like, but this... Okay, I know in the States you guys have that bizarre thing where corporations are technically people for certain legal purposes.
Yeah, as far as the law is concerned.
So, like, sometimes the First Amendment applies to a corporation because that's the corporation's speech.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, the way I see it, if one of the rights protected by the Constitution, if no matter how it's interpreted, it's going to infringe on one person's right, like the same right. So like the freedom of speech, it's the right to freedom of expression. The corporation has the right to freely express themselves in how they display their merchandise. And the children have the right to express themselves based on what merchandise they feel is being marketed towards them that they could feel comfortable buying without being teased for, oh, that's a girl's thing or that's a boy's thing. I feel like the actual living human being should take priority over top of the piece of paper that is the idea of a corporation.
You would think that, but please remember, these are the same people that get confused over whether an actual living human being is more important to take care of the rights of versus a fetus. These people get very confused over that part already. Corporations versus people is probably a little too high bar for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Okay.
I feel like a condescending asshole when I make jokes like that, but then I remember I have a comment section where I get to know the kind of things they say about me, so I don't know if I care.
Okay, that's fair. Next up, this comes to us from Freedom from Religion Foundation. The FFRF calls out, is ALA Alabama? Okay.
Alabama.
I was going to say Alaska, but then I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. I mean, Alaska is red, but no news comes out of Alaska.
Alaska's red in like a shoot self in foot on accident kind of way. It's weird.
It's the Florida of the North.
Yeah, I'd say that.
So FFRF calls out Alabama State Senator's pro-indoctrination remarks. Freedom from Religion Foundation is responding to Alabama Senator Greg Reed's recent comments in support of school-sponsored religious indoctrination. You can tell from the highlights that I've read this before, so I should have already known that it was Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
But brain fart, I guess. So yeah, they what they did was they had churches come in and give free snacks and drinks to their wrestling team.
Which means it's the same
No.
thing as having a politician give snacks during
No. That's
Oh?
fine. That's fine. It's
Okay.
okay. It's okay to have a church just give snacks and drinks to a wrestling team. That's fine.
Mhm.
The problem is that like this was a quid pro quo arrangement where, oh, we will give you free snacks and drinks if you let us preach to the kids first. And they said, okay.
Remember,
Oh,
it's
God.
okay when it's okay when it's Christianity because you're desensitized to it, but it's not okay if it were any other religion because reasons, I guess. I see you are having to hat yourself again. Guys, if Rhino despises what he's doing, can we just call it hatred?
There. I have a new hat.
So you do.
I hope this was clean.
I would kind of hope so too. Otherwise, it's a bit weird.
Our house is a bit more chaotic than normally. These wouldn't normally be in the office at all. I'm not sure entirely how they got there, so
I want to believe you when you say that.
so I would assume that it just fell out of a laundry basket somewhere.
I've seen what your room looks like when when you don't have everything cropped out. So I want to believe you when you say that.
Fennec is asking whose panties are those? You got two guesses. There are two people in this house whose they could be.
We've seen you in lingerie, so probably yours.
But not necessarily. Yeah, okay. This Man, the life
Having
of
trouble.
the things streamers do for Axolotl says Rhino wears panties canon.
It is canon.
Where my
It
fan art is
happened.
that? Oh, someone else redeemed a hat now, so I gotta put something else on.
You have to
God
put
damn
it. And now you're starting to learn why redeems are a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I got to the point where I turned them off for when I'm doing content because
There, this is a hat, right?
it can be. It's close enough.
Yeah.
You know. Looks like a hat, feels like a hat, probably smells like a hat.
The other one didn't smell like a hat.
It didn't smell like anything or didn't smell like a hat.
Didn't smell like a hat is what I said.
Your mic cut out, so it just sounded like you said, didn't smell like... The underwear didn't smell like...
Yeah. Okay. So this week we're celebrating the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. This is part of what... this is how Reed responded to their letter, telling him to stop preaching to the kids. To him goes all the praise and all the glory. That should be our focus, and it should not be interrupted by out-of-state groups trying to push faith out of our lives and the lives of our children. We need more children, not less, to hear the good news of God's saving grace.
Every religion ever that is a religion of recruitment, I'll go ahead and say, every religion that's a religion of recruitment has that exact same thought process.
Mm-hmm.
What means that yours is the correct one?
Yeah.
And furthermore, what gives you the right from that point on?
So FFRF staff attorney Chris Line says, your remarks are alarming and a breach of your oath to support the U.S. Constitution, which protects students from religious indoctrination by their public schools. They go on to say that parents, not public schools, have the right to determine their child's religion or their religious or non-religious upbringing. Additionally, offering access to students for proselytization by outside churches as part of a school program violates the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, because these kids are a captive audience. They can't go away. They can't just leave. And even if they could technically leave, there's going to be the peer pressure to stay, because if you leave, then you're going to be the kid who doesn't love Jesus.
It'd be funny though. There's a part of me that wants to just go back in time, not myself, but go back to a younger age, but with the knowledge I have now of being an adult, for all of the situations where I felt like I couldn't do something because of social pressure, But now I know I didn't have to give a fuck the entire time. But when you're a kid, you don't have that context. That's why I want to go back and have that context.
No. Oh, okay. Never mind. I didn't read the full context. Species Demina says, rhino in a bowler hat. And I was about to be like, I have a P.O. box, you know. But just before that, Fennec the Rabbit was like, he's got a P.O. box. We can just mail him hats.
You're going to get just a ton of hats now.
Yeah. Well, I haven't checked my P.O. box since November. I should probably do that because usually people send me some stuff for Christmas.
Hopefully you don't get what I got the very first month I had my P.O. box open.
What did you get?
Apparently there is a service where you can mail people used panties. And that was sent to me on month 1.
Given what just happened on stream, I would not be surprised in the least if somebody did that.
It was well before VTuber arc.
So Rhino's being horny tonight. No, I just took the horns off because they hurt. I don't know if you can see the red marks on my forehead from them, but like...
Just take a couple wads of toilet paper, put it between your head and nose.
Look at that. No, look at that. You can... That's bad. Anyway, FFRF recently settled a lawsuit against the school district in West Virginia after it similarly allowed a preacher to recruit students during the school day. Now, FFRF gets painted by Christians as the bad guys quite a bit. So it's worth mentioning that when they say settled a lawsuit, the school district had to pay for legal fees, and then the actual settlement was $1. So
yeah, the FFRF doesn't like...
They are not out to get a bunch of money from these school districts. They're out to protect people's freedom of expression and religion. The First Amendment, the thing that they were complaining that kids are losing, or that stores are losing in the last one. Like, they're just trying to make sure that kids have that.
And I wasn't aware stores had freedom of religion. America's weird.
Yeah, our stores have freedom of religion, but kids? No, fuck that.
There's so much bonkers that goes on with all of this. It's honestly kind of tiring.
Apparently, Fennec just found those crochet hats with beards. Have you not seen those before, Fennec?
I've seen so many of those. They make you look like a garden gnome.
Yeah, they are pretty awesome, though. All right, so as a state senator, it's his duty to support the U.S. Constitution, including the Establishment Clause, separating religion from government and protecting the rights and conscience of all Alabamians, regardless of their religious or non-religious beliefs. And then they go on to say, in the face of an active campaign by Christian nationalists to declare the United States a Christian nation and undo many First Amendment protections as well as other civil liberties, his statements are profoundly un-American. I like that they go to the point of saying that, because all these people are always like, they're the jingoistic gung-ho, America first, America number one. It's like, yeah, you're being un-American with your whole, you must be my religion or else in the public school system.
It's kind of funny considering that, like, so when I was the version of American history that I was fed when I was growing up, and most of this came from, going to Pensacola Christian Academy. So bear in mind, it has a little bit of taint to it. But
that taint.
The version that I was fed was that we left the Church of England because we wanted to be able to practice the right version of Christianity away from the oppressive church. That was what we were told as kids, because, of course, the Abeka literature, go figure. So it's just hilarious to me to see people go like, yeah, no, this draconian thing, that's good, actually, because it looks like it's in the flavor of my God.
Yeah. No, they have demonstrated time and time again that they don't have principles that they stand on. They just want to be on the winning team.
I mean, isn't that the entire point behind, well, you don't want to go to hell, do you? Like, so it's not about loving God, it's about being afraid of a fire pit?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so they say, our public schools exist to educate, not indoctrinate in religion. Senator Reid should take a minute to read our godless constitution and refresh himself on constitutional principles mandating that the government and schools stay out of the religion business. I like how they, again, go out of their way to be like, you should read our godless constitution, because it is godless. You guys always forget that, but...
Remember, America's only a Christian nation by population numbers, not by legislation. People seem to forget that.
And that's shrinking. So
What's shrinking?
The population that's Christian.
Oh yeah,
the percentage of the population. Like Christianity worldwide is still growing, but they are bleeding members to deconversion faster than any other religion on the planet, which is a weird thing to happen for the religion of the one true God.
Well, they'll spin it into some type of persecution porn.
Yeah, absolutely. They always do.
Like, don't worry. We're not losing numbers. This is what you expect on the way to the final days. Oh, but we're getting numbers. That means that God is good and he's happy. There's a way to justify everything, including ass cancer.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's basically it for that one. This next one is a little bit sad and a little bit long. This one was sent to me by Fennec the Fox. You can send news stories to me at news@vicerhino.com, and that will have a chance of showing up on the stream. I almost didn't do this one because it is a bit of an older story, but I don't think we talked about it. It's one of those things where it would be so easy to make fun of the people that fell for this, but they are the victims here, and this kind of humanizes them a bit, the way this article was written, and I like that, and I think this kind of puts on display how different the mindset is between the people on the far right and the far left, because everyone that I know that would be considered far left are very compassionate people who are like, I do not want even the most hardcore MAGA people, I don't want them to come to harm.
We just kind of want them to figure their shit out.
I want social programs to help them when they're in need. I don't want them because I want that help for myself necessarily. I want these programs in place because there's no reason, there's no real reason aside from lack of political will to have people in these difficult situations or whatever. And that gets applied regardless of political bent. It's not like only Democrats can apply for unemployment benefits. Is anyone who needs
Democrat them. Or you don't get your food stamps.
Yeah, no, anyone who we want anyone who needs food to have food. And that's that's where we come from. Whereas on the right, it hasn't always been as bad as it is now. There always has been the fringe, but it has become more mainstream for people to be like, oh no, my whole platform is just triggering the libs. I just want to make the libs mad. I want to make the Dems mad. It doesn't matter. Policy doesn't matter. I don't want to help anybody. I just want the Dems to get mad. And that is my whole platform. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, they're both like that. They don't have anything to bring to the table. They just want to troll the libs.
We are here so that but you got to remember though, that's what their platform does, but the way that they sell it to their constituents is saving America from Marxism, saving America from socialism. Because of where I live,
saving America from political systems that, if they were implemented in more regulated ways, that would not funnel all the power up to the top like it did during Soviet Russia or whatever, would actually help people. People are saying they can't say the title in the thing. I know you can't see the titles because I crop it for the article and they make their title line up with the ads. So I crop out the ads for you.
But where I live, all of the signs, when you're driving down the street, there's a shit ton of signs for Marjorie still. Mm-hmm. They're just Marjorie Taylor Greene, stop socialism now.
Yeah, so this is this article came to us from Fennec Fox. So it's news@vicerhino.com if you've got something you think I should cover. This is Trump bucks promise wealth for MAGA loyalty. Some lose thousands. I don't know if I'm going to read through the whole article. It's a long article. They interview some people that fell for this scam, but basically the idea was there were these companies that let's get the names of the companies. So it's Patriots Dynasty, Patriots Future, and USA Patriots, because everything's Patriots.
Of course it is. It's how you sell it.
Yeah, that's how you know you're a real patriot. Real patriots give your money to us, and we will send you Trump bucks. So these are this is fake currency that, if you read the fine print on their website, it tells you that it's memorabilia that has no actual value. But the way they advertise it in the videos, and they will often have like an AI generated Trump endorsing it, saying, this is the best, this is the greatest. If you want to get rich, you buy these things. And then as soon as I'm president again, I'm going to make them worth, 10,000 times what they are now. Like,
Yeah.
so you buy your coin for $99.99, and then you can take it to Bank America in a couple weeks, and it'll be worth $10,000.
And then it does a double whammy. So it tricks people who are vulnerable, but then it also gives financial incentive for people to vote for Trump. People who were stupid enough to believe this in the first place.
Yeah, that's how the scam continues going, even after people take it to the bank and the bank tells them no. A lot of these people still believe it because they think, okay, well, maybe I couldn't get it at the bank now, but once Trump is president, he is going to make them worth money again.
Yeah.
Because he's going to like throw out the dollar and make Trump bucks the new currency, which would completely destroy the world economy, essentially, if he actually did that.
But these same people tend to be the guys who go, well, money isn't real anymore because it doesn't have the gold standard, not realizing that, like, there is no difference between the social value of gold and the social value of oil and the social value of anything else.
But gold is a real rock, though.
Yeah.
It's a real shiny rock.
Yeah.
So, and people will always find shiny rock valuable.
And if that was the case, then fool's gold would be worth money. But...
well, no, because fool's gold doesn't have the same properties... stuff, whatever. I don't know. Yeah. So again, I'm not going to go through this, but like the companies that do this are shrouded in secrecy. Like there's a third-party shipping company involved in this. What were they called? Yeah, this is a really long article, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. I forget what it is, but I looked in, like, I forget what this is called, but I looked into them, and they're basically like, their whole thing is you say, I have this business, or I would like to start this business, and I need to ship this type of product, so please find me that type of product that I can ship for this business.
Drop shipping?
Not quite drop shipping, but that was exactly what I thought when I read it as well, so, oh, there we go, there. So... the website's registered with the company names Patriot Dynasty, Patriots Future, and USA Patriots. Their listed address can be traced to shipoffers.com, which is a shipping center in Aurora, Colorado. But then when you get even deeper into it, it then gets to affiliate marketers.
Oh.
Where you have like third parties promoting this, and then they get a cut of it, but then it gets shipped through this shipping company in Colorado that anytime anybody complains about them, their default explanation is, oh, we don't make the products, we just ship them. And we put businesses in touch with places that should... like the first thing they have listed is like supplements, which that's a big red flag for me. It's like, oh, the first thing that you have listed on your website are these unregulated things where you can ship complete garbage and call it, vitamin B, and nobody actually knows if there's any vitamin B in there because it's unregulated and who fucking knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they've been scamming old people. They've been scamming the hardcore MAGA people. And I'm just like, it's tempting to just be like, haha, if you're going to support Trump in this day and age, kind of serves you right. But like, it's just sad. It's not even, haha, you're getting your comeuppance funny. It's like, no, the people that are being scammed by Trump have been primed to be scammed by this sort of thing because that's what Trump does. Like, he fucking sells NFTs now.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he's priming these people to believe that this is exactly the kind of thing that he might do. So then when people come along and say, hey, Trump is doing this, it's entirely believable. So, like, I don't blame them for falling for it. Because that sounds like the kind of thing that Trump would at least say that he's going to do, even if he would have no follow through.
It's the whole Poe's law thing all over again. It's the stuff he says is just extreme enough where it's impossible to tell when somebody's parodying it or emulating it, or if it's legitimately something that he's said. And that I can understand that creating a huge problem here, because we see that issue in all kinds of other areas where people are primed to believe bullshit, like flat Earth, where you can say, any pseudoscientific bullcrap, and somebody will just start believing it because, well, it's not what the government is saying, so therefore, it's the same shit, and it's sad, but we see it in all kinds of areas.
Yeah, and then I've got John73 John saying, I don't have any sympathy for them. We've all been trying to warn them for 8 years. At this point, they deserve what they've asked for. Yeah, but it's not just that, because a lot of these people, these are old people who are trying to do this so that they can leave some money for their grandkids when they die. And they're taking away the money that they might actually leave to their grandkids to spend them on this scam, basically.
Yeah, the thing is that these are in fact people, and it's understandable to have no sympathy for somebody when they are doing something with malicious intent and they get their comeuppance. But a lot of times that's not what's happening here. A lot of times these are people who they're treating it the same way as a stock investment. They think that it's something that's going to happen and it's going to happen eventually. And it's worded with the same language as a bond would be from a bank. So why wouldn't they trust a person who they think is trustworthy? That's the other problem with Trump, is that if you're not primed for Trump, the charisma that he has, it kind of just falls off of you. You see through the shit he's saying.
So,
but
on the Cognitive Dissonance podcast, they made a good point, is that Joe Biden has a lot of verbal gaffes, but he actually has a speech impediment. I always forget about that, because he has a stutter. He does very well to overcome it, but sometimes he stumbles on his words. That's just something that happens. So what they recommended you do is read a transcript of what they're saying instead of just listening to them say it. Mm-hmm. And when you read a transcript of something that Joe Biden was saying, it's intelligent and makes sense. When you read a transcript of what Trump is saying, you have to read it 5 times over to figure out whether or not the sentences were actually ending in the correct spots. It's complete ludicrous. He speaks like someone who writes at a 3rd grade level. And when you hear him speak, his charisma can kind of he does I am not personally attracted to his charisma, but it's undeniable that he does have charisma, because there are people that find him charismatic. Now there's a certain matter of opinion there. So obviously he doesn't appeal to me, but if you're just reading the words that he said written down, that takes the charisma out of the equation. And this is just, let's read what they actually said. Let's read the substance of what they are saying. And when Joe Biden is speaking, he's actually saying things sometimes, whereas Trump makes no sense.
Yeah, that's the thing that a lot of people don't seem to understand. But again, this is the reason why Trump's charisma works on so many people, is they're looking at his mannerisms. If you look at most of the viral moments for Trump.
I know you meant to say mannerisms, but mannerisms just kind of made me laugh, because it's because a lot of times it seems like he's having an aneurysm when he's talking.
So I've always pronounced that word mannerisms. I've always pronounced it that way. But
see, this where we go. If you read the transcript of what Cyrus was trying to say there, it makes a lot more sense than what
I actually said. But most of the time, if you look at the moments of Trump's presidency or of his speeches or anything where he's gone viral, it is almost always something he's doing with his hands or with his face. It's usually some grand gesture he's doing where he's signaling to the audience, or he's mocking a reporter, stuff like that. That's the stuff that gets viral for Trump, not the actual words he's saying half the time. It's the cadence in which he's saying it and the context in which he's saying it. That matters a lot when talking about this shit. So it didn't occur to me a lot until you mentioned the transcript thing, just how many of Trump's moments don't actually have anything to do with the content of what he said.
Mm-hmm.
They have almost everything to do with how he said something.
Every time you read what he says, it's just nothing. He says nothing. Van Briggs is asking, does VR also have a Discord server? I do, but I'm almost never in it, and I don't have a link on me right now. But I should probably... No, I'm not going to do that right now. I should probably like get a permalink and just put it in something so that people can get to it easily.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. So anyway... are you ready? Are you ready for the fucking pronouns guy?
Oh no, please, not more heels versus babyface.
I can't remember his fucking name. It's the fucking pronouns guy.
Because I used to actually like his content, so
yeah, I don't have that problem. But yeah, so he so the reason I don't have audio clips and introducing the news segments today is because while I was looking for them, I stumbled upon this video. And I was like, no, I have to respond to this video. But it's about Doctor Who, and it's about the newest episodes. I'm like, but I'm behind. So I literally spent the last 2 hours just watching Doctor Who instead of preparing for the stream, because that's my job.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really like my job. Can we just take a moment to appreciate how fucking awesome it is that I enjoy my job? I don't know if you... get that same feeling every now and then.
So the fact that one of my hobbies is currently a thing that I get to write off on taxes because I do it as part of my job.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, I'm both incredibly thankful for that and incredibly happy about that. And just in general, even though it has honestly been harder to make content recently because I've been fixated in other directions, it doesn't take anything away from the fact that I adore that this is a thing I get to do.
Yeah. So before we get into what he says about the latest Doctor Who episodes, he's only talking about the Christmas special. I will get into what I say. New Doctor is, I forget his name.
Are we at the 14th or the 15th Doctor?
13th, I want to say. Maybe 14th.
13th was the female Doctor.
Okay, then we're at the 14th.
The only reason I know that is because I got the Doctor Who Magic the Gathering decks, and they are all named 13th Doctor, 12th Doctor.
So 9 is Eccleston, 10 is Tennant, 11 is Matt Smith, 12 is Capaldi, 13 is Jodie Whittaker. Okay, so season 14 is Shutigawa, who is a sex educator. So when I first read that, I was like, oh, I hope they didn't just like go with the guy who has the woke cred. But from what I've seen so far, he actually does seem to have the dramatic range that is required for this character. Like a lot of people were saying that the guy from the IT crowd should have been the next Doctor. He can do the funny bits, but I don't know that I've ever seen him do anything serious.
You know, it's funny. There's a secret layer for Magic the Gathering that has the 15th Doctor.
Oh, yeah, no. So the 14th... David Tennant is the 14th Doctor because he came back as a reincarnation. So technically Shutigawa is the 15th.
The 15th Doctor. Okay, so that explains that. See, yeah. This is me looking at cards, not understanding context.
Yeah. So I watched the episode. I haven't, done I just watched it to be... I know I'm supposed to be tearing apart this guy's bad review of the episode. So I was supposed to watch it with more of a critical eye, but I was just watching it to enjoy it the first time. And I did. I enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite episode ever. The Christmas episodes are always a little cheesy, always a little saccharine with let's make everything sweet and it has to fulfill the holiday spirit thing. But that's a normal thing for Doctor Who. So it seems like a normal Doctor Who episode. It's better than when what's his face, Chris Chibnall was writing. I do think it's gotten better since him. Russell T Davies was the writer for most of the specials, I think, maybe all of them. And so he did have to deal with some stuff that Chris Chibnall set up. And I think he did that fairly well. But it's still too early to tell. But the person that they're clearly setting up to be his companion actually has personality, which is something that was kind of lacking in like they had 4 companions for the last Doctor, which, having that many companions might have been part of the problem. Like it can be done, but it requires a writer with more skill than I think Chibnall had. But like it's hard to fully flesh out that many characters in your one little episode. So this one, she actually has a personality, which is nice. So yeah. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at with this. Where like I'm hopeful that Doctor Who is getting better now. So let's see what the fucking pronouns guy has to say about it.
This is going to be awful.
Oh no, I pressed the wrong button again. Why is it taking so long? It shouldn't be.
Ncuti Gatwa is now the kinda, sorta, probably not really, Doctor.
Not really, Doctor?
He is just the Doctor. Like there was nothing in the episode to suggest that he was temporary. So like,
okay.
Yeah, he's just the Doctor now. Fennec the Rabbit says, "Oh, this fucker. Yeah, this is the fucking pronouns guy."
Yeah.
And people turned out in their tens of millions to see his debut on Christmas Day. No, they didn't. It was the lowest rated Christmas Doctor Who show of all time.
So, the numbers haven't been finalized yet. Yes, for a Doctor Who Christmas special, it was lower than the previous ones have been. They don't do a Christmas special every year. But also, it was the 3rd most viewed TV show in the UK on Christmas Day. And that's not counting people who watch it on streaming services later. That's counting people who watch the live broadcast. So, given that watching it on streaming services later is a lot more prevalent now than it was in 2005 when the first Christmas special of New Who came out, I'm going to say that part of the decline is not necessarily due to anything about Doctor Who, but more just with how people consume it.
Also, so this is a thing that's always bothered me a little bit about video games, media we consume, all comics. There's this weird thing with fanboys of these things, and I was guilty of it too before, where we judge the quality of something based solely on its numbers. The ratings of this means that it was the reception of this means that it was good. That's not always the case. It's a good indicator, generally speaking. Generally speaking, audience said Sonic 06 is bad. Okay, that's actually fairly true. But that's not always the most accurate way to figure out if something is legitimately good. We've seen, especially in the gaming industry, a ton of times where like something is hated by reviewers and by initial audiences, and then like 5 years later everybody's going, hey, remember that game? That was actually pretty sweet.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I feel like I'm a fairly good example of this. Like I watched this episode today. The only reason I watched it is because I wanted to have more context for responding to some of what this guy is saying, because I feel like he didn't even watch the episode. He's just responding to like a trailer of the episode that he saw somewhere. Because there's some things that he gets to that are like, why? Like, if you actually saw the episode, why would you say that? Because that's a question that is answered by the episode. Yeah, no, I probably wouldn't have watched this for a couple months, but I definitely would have watched it, and I did enjoy it. Like, it's not peak Who, but it's not as bad as Chibnall Who.
Remember also, like, everything can't be peak within its genre. There's always going to be writing flubs. I mean, hell, I am 400 episodes into One Piece, and I just found the arc I hate the most of the entire show.
And as much as as much as I love Chris Eccleston, the 9th Doctor, as much as I love him, a lot of his episodes are like cheesy trash. And it's like I want to say that was just kind of the style of that sort of TV shows in the early 2000s. Like it's not necessarily that it was bad writing or whatever. That's just how TV was written then. But like, yeah, there's a lot of the music, especially, is just like, I feel like I'm watching the Power Rangers almost, except it's less obviously a toy commercial.
You're there for the cheesy garbage, though, for some people.
Well, yeah, some of it was, and some of the cheesiness was fucking awesome. And it worked because Chris Eccleston was a fantastic Doctor. Anyway, back to this guy. Oh, right, he's got to do his dramatic gay as fuck. Sip. Okay, whatever.
Hi everyone, it's Az here from Heel versus Babyface. So the latest Doctor Who show.
Oh, people were asking in the chat whether I really didn't know who this guy is. Yeah, no, the only thing I know him as is the fucking pronouns guy. That was my first exposure to him, and that is all I know about him. Aside from the fact that you were saddened by his bad opinion.
His existence now.
Hit on Christmas Day this year. No, I won't call it a Christmas special, because if I'm going to use Doctor Who and special in the same sentence, then I'm probably going to have to use the word Olympics or needs after.
Oh, fucking hell.
Get it? It's funny because I'm making fun of disabled people.
Why is that joke? Why is that even there?
I don't know.
Moreover, why is it so? Like, here's the thing I don't get. I don't understand this one. If somebody has special needs, why is that something to make fun of? Why is that?
It's not. We got past that in the 90s and early 2000s. This guy's just behind the times.
He's just stuck.
He's probably still mad that people don't use the R slur anymore as just a generic insult.
It. There was nothing special about this Doctor Who show whatsoever.
Yeah, like I said, it was kind of run-of-the-mill Doctor Who. It was like not a great episode, but not a bad episode. It was like, kind of middle of the road, which is good. That's better. That's better than it's been for 3 years.
Isn't the entire point of a special just it is different than what normally comes around? Like, it doesn't make it better or worse automatically.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's a Christmas episode, so they like cranked the sugar up to 11, and it's like, oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet, and makes me happy and fuzzy and warm because it's Christmas. But they've always done that for the Christmas. The Christmas specials are always like that. They're always kind of dumb and
a little campy,
but that's part of the charm of the Christmas specials. Like there are 2 Christmas specials that have become annual watches that we do in our household as like just standalones. This is a Christmas movie. And they're not peak Who, but they're peak good Christmas stuff. Now this episode is probably not going to be a Christmas thing. This is like the most Christmassy thing about it is that there's a goblin wearing a Christmas hat or a Santa hat, which there was also a musical number where they sing about eating babies that I kind of like. I wish it wasn't copyrighted so I could use it in my channel now.
Just sing it yourself.
Yeah, no, it's fucking amazing. But then like the Doctor sings and his new companion sings a little bit, and yeah, that moment was kind of cheesy. Like I could have done without that moment. Like the musical number, maybe not, but like it's a Christmas episode, whatever.
In actual fact, it didn't even feel like a Doctor Who show.
Yes, it did. It was done like it was way better than the Christmas episode where David Tennant spent the whole episode sleeping until the last 5 minutes of the movie. That didn't feel like a Doctor Who episode.
They were just treating him like Goku. Keep him away from the fighting until it's important.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like queer as folk.
Queer.
That's the thing. There was nothing really overly queer about it. Like the guy who's playing the Doctor, I believe he is gay. He might be bi. I don't know. But like there was nothing really in the episode that was like flashing that for all the world to see. He kind of flirted with a lot of people, mostly women. There was like one trans person that was in it for like a minute.
Neat. We had our Buzz Lightyear kiss on screen. Yeah. Woke now.
I'm only mucking about. Queer as Folk was much less gay than this was. Now, Russell T Davies is calling Doctor Who a fantasy show now, and not necessarily science fiction.
So, hasn't it always been?
Yeah, I was going to say, I know you're not really big into Doctor Who, but there was a whole fucking episode where they went back in time and met Shakespeare, and there were real witches. Now, they tried to, like, science word it away, being like, oh, yeah, certain words actually have power because it resonates with the blah, 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 whatever. They tried to science it up, but they had fucking witches that used magic words to enchant people and cast spells on people. And this was the same thing in the Christmas episode. They had goblins that used kind of magic-y stuff, but they tried to science it up a little bit. But, like, no, Doctor Who has always rode the boundary. It's always rode the boundary. Yeah, that doesn't sound right. Ridden the boundary. I don't know. It's always
skirted the
straddled.
line.
Straddled. Let's use straddled.
Straddled the line.
It's always straddled the boundary between science fiction and fantasy because there's always so much shit that just like, no, that is scientifically impossible. But it's a fucking show that you're meant to just watch and have fun with.
Also, half the things in science fiction are scientifically impossible.
Star Trek skirts the boundary of fantasy at times. Like fucking Q?
Yeah.
That's a fucking god. That is a god. A literal god who is omnipotent, who can do whatever the fuck he wants. And you're going to tell me that's science fiction?
The holodeck the holodeck as it is portrayed in Star Trek is, as we understand it, scientifically impossible.
Yeah, and Fennec the Rabbit is saying, oh my god, I love Q, and John Delancey is one of my favorite actors. Yeah, John Delancey fucking owns that role. He's amazing, and Q is an amazing character, but don't tell me that's science fiction. That is fantasy.
The thing is, so the genres that we use to describe things, I think more people would be comfortable if we just understood collectively we made the genres the fuck up.
Yeah.
So this is like I have a friend of mine in real life. He's actually a Diminem. We do the Spicy Deck podcast together on Fridays, and we have discussions and disagreements a lot about what genre certain games fit into. So like, you've played Metroid Prime, right, on the GameCube?
Probably at some point.
Okay, so there are people who disagree on whether that's a first-person shooter or whether it's an adventure game. But it's a adventure game that you play in first person,
and
where you use a gun to shoot, and it's so like now you have to get really specific on, well, what makes a first person shooter versus what makes an adventure game, because the combat and traversal in this is very much first person shooter, but there's a lot of platforming in it as well. So is it a platformer because that is the primary mode of navigation? Like it's a fun argument to get into, for just shits and giggles. But the reality is it shows the issue with our language and how we make this shit up as we go. Yep. And then we encounter problems with it. Like, I don't know, conversations we've had on gender where everybody talks about boys and girls, and then suddenly people are confused about singular uses of they. It's weird how that works. The human language has done this for centuries. This is just what we do. So it's confusing to me when somebody doesn't understand that something can be both science fiction and fantasy. And I don't even want to get in a conversation about what the hell Star Wars technically is. The answer is it's a spaghetti Western, but that's not important.
I mean, Fennec the Rabbit is pointing out it's a social construct. Sounds familiar.
Yeah, like money.
Yeah. Yeah, we're still on Doctor Who. Baroness Faye, sorry.
Give me some Willy! All right, I said sorry, okay?
Yeah, see,
sorry, Russell, my suspension of disbelief can only go so far. Quick, Doctor, inject some masculinity into the show. Toot sweet.
What?
Falling down on my
what? Why does that matter?
So there was a trans person on screen for a few seconds, and so now they're like, oh, we got to get masculinity. And the way they get masculinity is by having the Doctor who spinning in a circle while wearing a kilt, which is a very famously masculine garment.
Also, just out of curiosity, trans person exists.
Yeah.
Therefore, your suspension of disbelief is not there. Are you trying to tell me that...
He hasn't explained why. You see, it's because 2 trans people exist. And the odds of the Doctor encountering 2 trans people over the course of, I think, like 3 episodes is so low that begs disbelief in a show where they were rescued by a ship in the vacuum of space in a place that had a beacon telling ships to go away from it.
Do you know how many goddamn random fucking dinosaurs are in the Doctor Who Magic the Gathering decks? And I have no fucking idea why.
Oh, that's probably from the episode Dinosaurs on a Spaceship.
There's a card called Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, so
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, that's probably from that episode. That one, fun fact, that one has, what's his face in it? The guy who played, what's his fucking name? I can see his face. He was in Game of Thrones as well. He was the old creepy guy at the Red Wedding that was like the head of the household.
Didn't watch Game of Thrones, so I have no idea.
Oh, fuck you.
Maybe later.
Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. I know his name. As soon
But,
as
like,
I see his name, it's gonna...
So, funnily enough, one of the card shops I go to, right? If we just want to talk about how
David
likely
Bradley.
it is...
David Bradley.
David Bradley?
The guy who
Okay.
played Filch in the Harry Potter things.
Okay. So, like, if we want to talk about the likelihood of encountering trans people, I can go to one of the local card shops that we frequent a lot of times on the weekends, right? And if I go there, there are no less than 2 trans cashiers. There's no less than at least 1 or 2 people who are trans working inventory in the back. And you know who runs the shop? A really old cis white guy. And that's just the staff. That's not even talking about the people who, go to the shop and play card games and tabletop games there. So, I don't know. Maybe the likelihood's pretty high.
I mean, there are 4 trans people that are in my very close circle of friends and family that I know personally. So, like, just there being a second trans person is entirely believable. Someone that isn't a bigot against trans people, knows trans people, and encounters trans people? Yeah, that happens.
Weird. More likely than you'd think.
Yeah.
Right, maybe not then. Thank goodness nothing else happens within the next couple of minutes.
Now, if you don't mind, I just got snowman and I would like to go home.
Thankfully, snowman doesn't have an Urban Dictionary definition, does it, Disbrew? Yes, I'm gonna go there. Snowman, the act of inserting a thumb or 2 fingers into the anus of another person, like a carrot being placed incorrectly on a snowman's face.
So this is part of why I think he didn't even watch the episode. So snowman, yes, it does have an Urban Dictionary definition.
Yep.
And that is indeed one of the Urban Dictionary definitions. But if you know anything about Urban Dictionary, it's often got multiple definitions for the same thing, and which ones are at the top are determined entirely by people voting. The definition that he went to, you want to guess where that stands in the rankings of how many definitions he had to scroll through before he gets to that one?
3rd.
9th.
No.
That is the 9th definition of snowman.
Oh.
The first definition, and this is something that fits in completely with Doctor Who. So before I even watched the fucking episode, I was like, we have to do this on the show so I can correct this. The first definition is leaving a friend to sit by himself like a snowman does, while you and everyone else takes part in an adventure, more than likely a drunken one. That sounds like the kind of thing the Doctor would do. He would just kind of sit in the back while everybody else is going having fun because he doesn't really know how to do normal Earth people stuff. That sounds like the kind of thing the Doctor would do. So, like, yeah, sure, fine. So out of context, that's fine. Do you want to know what happened in that episode immediately before he said that?
Let me guess. He got abandoned by his friends who went to go do something, and he got to sit there like a snowman.
No. You see, it's even stupider than that because, like, that's what I thought. I was thinking, like, oh, he got left alone or whatever from his friends. But if we go back just a little bit, where are we?
Happens within the next couple of minutes.
Now,
Okay, it's only on screen for a split second. But what happened immediately before he said, I just got snowmaned, was there was a giant snowman figure on the side of a store that fell off the building onto him.
Oh, so he just got...
He just literally got crushed by a snowman. Like a snowman fell and like he was in the hollow part in the middle or whatever, so he survived.
So this
But,
is why you mentioned earlier that, no, they will literally just do lies by omission and then continue on as if their lie was true to begin with.
Yeah, but well, no, this isn't what I was thinking of with that. I still haven't remembered what that was. But this is why I think he didn't even watch the episode. Like, he's just watching a trailer for the episode, because he literally got a snowman fall on him, and then he says, "I got snowmaned." And he's like,
it's the most literal translation possible.
And he's sitting here like going to the 9th definition of snowmanning in Urban Dictionary to be like, he had someone stuck his fingers up his butt. It's like, no, he just had a snowman fall on him. That's it. And then there was a cute little moment with the cop that he's talking to where he's like, oh, my sonic screwdriver just went off and it detected that there was diamond in your, somewhere on your person. So you've got a diamond ring. So you're going to be like Sherlocked him, like you're going to be proposing to your girlfriend on Christmas Day. And she's going to say yes. And it was this cute little moment. And then it moves on. And like, that's where I mean, where it's like that didn't really need to go in there. It was kind of extra saccharine and like, whatever, but it was a cute little moment.
Now, if you don't mind, I just got...
Oh, see, right behind the officer, that white thing there, that's a giant snowman head that he just had fall on him.
So he got snowmaned
in the
most literal way possible.
Yes. So, like, I would be willing to bet that whoever wrote that was completely unaware of anything on Urban Dictionary.
And I would like to go home.
Thankfully, snowman doesn't have an Urban Dictionary definition, does it?
The first one is just leaving someone by themselves.
Yes, I'm going to go there. Snowman, the act of inserting a thumb or 2 fingers into the anus.
Now, could you imagine somebody doing this? Like every time in media, when somebody throws a snowball at someone else, somebody pulls up the Urban Dictionary definition for snowballing and be like, this is what the writers clearly intended. They're talking about cum shots and increasing them with spit.
They're talking about the gays.
Like, no, that's just, he got snowman. He got hit by a snowman. That's
of another
all it is.
person, like a carrot being placed incorrectly on a snowman's face. This is Doctor Who, folks. Thankfully, it's not made for kids.
Yeah, no, Doctor Who is for kids, and no kid is going to see a guy have a snowman fall on him, hear the word snowman, and then go, aha, he's talking about gay people sticking fingers up each other's butts.
However, if we want to talk about shows that are made for kids, but do this kind of subtle humor anyway, I wonder if he'd have a problem with old school Animaniacs. I know he'd have a problem with new school Animaniacs.
Hey, did you search for fingerprints? Did you see that?
Yeah, when Dot was holding Prince.
Yeah, she looks
no,
at him. She's like,
you.
"No, I don't think so."
Like, the entirety of Animaniacs is a double entendre.
Yeah,
like that is what the whole show is. It is political commentary and double entendres. And nobody in their right mind, if I described the Animaniacs to them in the most bland way possible, would agree that that's a kid's show. But if you watch Animaniacs, it very much is a kid's show that's very appealing to kids. So it's one of those things where, like, I can't care if there is a funny ha-ha sex joke in a thing meant for kids, especially if I know that it's going to go over their heads.
Yeah, like a guy just had even if that was what they meant by snowmanning, if a kid watches a guy have a snowman fall on him and then have him say, I just got snowmanned, they're not going to immediately think fingers stuck up the butt. They're going to think, yeah, he had a snowman fall on him.
Like,
that's what just happened.
There's a funny joke, or there's a funny video. It's an old YouTube video, but it has a bunch of moments from Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. And the video was called, like, Banjo-Kazooie rated E for everyone, ? And it shows all of the hidden adult humor that was shoved into that game. Just like little moments where a crate is labeled crate A55. It's a funny way to throw ass into a kid's game. Or like the way up to Mumbo's Mountain. Or the way up to Mumbo's...
I'm going to leave you to entertain the audience for a second because I really got to pee.
Fair enough. Like the way up to Mumbo's Mountain in one of the levels is actually just stones arranged in a way to look like a penis firing sperm. Like, there's all kinds of this shit. Or like a lot of the speech in the game is just adult references that, because you don't get to see, the reactions to a lot of the words people are saying because it's an old N64 game. Just flies by your head until you're older and you're like, oh, I know what that means. Oh, that's raunchy. And the thing is, they're not accidental, because I actually have a friend who's worked with staff who used to, be part of Rareware, and they're just like, no, that was what we wanted. That was what was supposed to be in there the whole time. That shit's not accidental. But no, don't worry. Nobody freaks the fuck out about that stuff because it doesn't matter. It's never mattered. But if you've got an audience of right-wing bigots that really, really cannot understand layers of humor, then you've got a group of people that you can convince, right? You got a group of people you can convince that this is not appropriate for kids or shouldn't be seen by kids or any of that shit. It's easy to do when you've got an audience primed to be tricked. It said more Rhino pee stream, less than Lucid. Why do you need Rhino to pee? I think it would be better if he didn't pee, honestly. He could just hold it in the entire time. Like, realistically, I believe in him. Can we all agree? We agree that Rhino should be allowed to just hold in his pee. That's the real way to figure out if you're masculine. I almost, because I'm looking on Vice Rhino stream and everything is lower quality, in terms of like it's at like 240p for me. I saw the Stream Elements thing and I tried to respond to what Stream Elements was saying when it was just spamming something. I'm not in a great spot where that's concerned. Yes, because the Tiny Toons had a ton of adult jokes, but just like Looney Tunes in general, all flavors of Looney Tunes are littered with adult humor.
Yeah. Cars as well. Like Maters, like, oh, you get to work with Bessie? I'd give my left two lug nuts to work with her. Like, that's not even subtle.
No, it's not.
Anyway.
The car said balls. Laugh.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that is what right-wing humor has come to.
I haven't watched the new Dave Chappelle special except for like one.
Well, neither. I was thinking mostly of the, I think it's, what's his face? Bill Maher, the Cojones Award.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole thing is just like, haha, joke. Like, haha, testicles. Haha, balls. Get it? Because we're giving awards to people. Thank you for redeeming the hydrate. And, yeah, it's just another one. Fuck off, Axolotl.
You gotta put cooldowns on them.
Mm-hmm.
Or they'll drown you.
Nobody's bought me food yet. So I have that treat stream thing yet. I don't know if it works. I need somebody to... Fuck off, Axolotl.
Do you have your thing set up to tell people that Treat Stream is available?
I do, yes. But I've never mentioned it verbally, so they can probably just ignore the bot.
Probably.
There's not going to be any water left in this. There's no more water, so no more hydrates unless you want me leaving the stream again. Shut the fuck... Okay.
Cooldowns are important, Rhino,
yeah,
or they'll drown you.
I am learning that. Okay. Are we done? Oh, fuck off, hats. My glasses cloth is a hat. There we go. That's a hat.
You know that feeling when you're watching your kid learn a lesson that you learned as a kid?
Yeah.
I'm watching that right now. You're not a kid, but I'm watching the same thing. I've had all this shit happen to me before and ruin my day.
Regios is waterboarding Rhino. Yep, my chat's trying to waterboard me.
It's bound to happen sometime.
All right.
Temper that reaction and change it if you introduce these images to people happily and normally and calmly.
I forget what
they're young.
I'm a grown adult and I don't think I'd react too calmly to a thumb or two fingers getting inserted up me anus, Russell. Still.
Yeah, remember, you had to go to the 9th definition on Urban Dictionary for that. Naramda puts sent $2 and says hydrate. Sorry, it's empty now. It's empty. See?
Also,
there's nothing
just
left
out of curiosity, I wonder if Heel versus Babyface has accepted the fact that...
Does this count as hydrate?
Sure, it probably does. If my diet soda counts as hydrate...
No. I am not giving my chat access to something that is basically amounts to do shots that they don't have to pay for.
But, so, Yeah, what was I even saying? I wonder if heel versus babyface recognizes that his prostate exists, and whether or not he likes his prostate, it exists, and it is the male G-spot. So when he says, I don't think I would like if somebody put those fingers up my anus, do you know that? Have you tried? Or are you just worried that you might like it, and therefore you're terrified?
Yeah, and that's another thing I don't understand. Like, if you like having a finger up your bum, just enjoy it when you have a finger up your bum.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's fine. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. It's not for you. Why does there have to be the stigma associated with it? I just don't get it. Tweets when. We'll get there. We've still got like 8 minutes of babyface left.
Still, there's probably enough indoctrination for one episode, don't you think?
Wait, how did you do that?
I spent a long, hot summer with Harry Houdini.
Wait a minute.
Okay, yeah, he implied that he had sex with Harry Houdini. Haha.
Cool.
Is the Doctor gay?
No, the Doctor's queer. This is a well-established fact. He has flirted with men and women. He has kissed men and women.
Have you ever shoved anything in your own ass?
Yes.
Of course. Duh.
So in the
How do you know if you like it if you don't try it at least once?
The real question is, what did you use? And if so, was it the right thing to try?
So when I was a teenager, it was a candle.
When I was a teenager, it was a toothbrush.
And yes, it was.
In my case, no, it wasn't.
It was thin enough. It was thin enough to not require any like practice to let it go in. It just went in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was long enough to hit the spot. So yeah, this is the TMI stream.
The toothbrush was not enjoyable.
I don't imagine it would be.
No.
I've heard many stories about toothbrushes. That has not even been anything that I've ever considered. Because like just conceptually, I feel like that would feel bad.
Well, you don't have to conceptualize it anymore. I can tell you it does.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard worse. Like apparently there are people that try putting toothbrushes in their urethras. I'm just like, how would that even occur to you as a pleasurable thing to do? That just sound like saying that was physically painful for me.
I can tell you why that occurred to me when I was a kid. Because back in the days of LimeWire, for those who used LimeWire to get everything, I didn't know how to go to porn websites without my history. I didn't know how to delete my history yet. So if I went to a porn website, my history would just be flooded with that, and then I would get viruses and all kinds of fun stuff. So the safer option, and I'm using that by a matter of degrees because LimeWire was never safe. LimeWire was like going on the internet without a condom.
Yeah.
Was I would actually look up and download porn from other people's computers using the P2P stuff from LimeWire.
You make that sound so much less sketchy than it actually was.
Oh, yeah, because
like, these are people that I know. They're my buddies. I'm just sharing the. No, these are random strangers on the internet that you're downloading porn directly from their computers.
Yep. So when I did this, I actually found one of the earlier 3D animated hentais where it was one of those like teacher in a classroom fetish things. Yeah. And the specific thing that the teacher did was take a metal rod, a thin one, and stick it down a person's urethra.
Ugh.
And just like,
nope.
It as somebody who was very young and sexually inexperienced, just went, I don't know if that would be good.
No, it would not be.
The answer is it was not.
No.
The answer is it was not. Don't fret. It was not good.
Like the idea of having a flexible catheter put in there, just like, nope, I don't want that. Nope. Anyway, back to Babyface.
The Napster method.
Back to Babyface.
First 20 minutes of the episode, we've had Dylan Mulvaney singing a song. We've then had the Doctor mincing around in a skirt in a gay bar.
A kilt, and it's not ever established that it is a gay bar. It's just a bar.
Was that actually Dylan Mulvaney on stage?
No, it was not.
It
was a trans person. And that's
Is he trying to say that they all look the same?
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Doctor then telling a policeman that he's had a thumb or two fingers inserted up his anus.
Or he's telling the policeman that a snowman just fell on him. Because that's literally what just happened.
And then
Half a dozen
the
in one
doctor
hand.
telling a 19-year-old companion that he spent a long, hot summer with Harry Houdini.
I didn't actually
But
look
they're
up her
an
age.
adult, though, aren't they? Like, why does it matter at that point?
I actually didn't look up the companion's age. I don't know if there's an official.
Even if there's not, though, are we infantilizing people who are 19 now? Like, is that where we're at in this episode?
I don't know, but now I'm kind of curious because I don't think she looks 19. I could be wrong. She was born in 2004.
She looked kind of like the protagonist from Silent Hill 3.
2023 minus 2004. Ah, she is 19. Okay. So she's 19. But, like, there's nothing sexual between them. They don't even flirt. Like, usually the Doctor flirts with their companions, but they don't even flirt with her.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's no meat on this bone. And he is desperately trying to, like, materialize
Nudge,
meat on this bone.
Wink, wink. Okay. I'm lying.
Yeah, I know.
It was a kilt, not a skirt.
Yeah. A very manly. Like, and okay, I'm not backtracking because OBS is weird with the backtrack, like scrubbing the video file. But like, he's a muscular dude. Like, he's a manly man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure the actor is gay. And you know, if you go with stereotypes, then maybe you can determine it from his fashion sense. But again, that's just how the wardrobe people dress him. That's not necessarily his fashion sense.
Yeah.
But like, there's nothing about him that says gay at this point in the episode. And like, he's an attractive man, and they actually make a joke about like every woman he meets is like, ooh, I want me a piece of that. Like when he first pops out of the other Doctor, Donna Noble, beloved companion from previous seasons, it's like, oh, you come in multiple colors, do you? And it was like this funny moment with like, where like David Tennant was being like, hey, don't be attracted to him. I'm still attractive, sort of thing. And it was kind of funny, and I kind of loved it. And Neil Patrick Harris was there, and like that was that guy's first day of shooting. He's not really like a big name actor at this point. He was in the Barbie movie, but like he's not a big name actor. He's just kind of a background guy. And now here he is. His first scene ever is in his underwear with Neil Patrick Harris and David Tennant. And it's just like that, like to be an actor to pull that off, that's got to have been intimidating. And he actually, we'll see as it goes on, but he seems to have the chops to be able to do the dramatic and serious side of the Doctor pretty well, which I feel like that's what I said earlier, that like the guy from the IT crowd that people were advocating for, I feel like he wouldn't have done good with that because we've never seen him do anything close to that. But the new guy, he seems like he actually has the chops to be able to pull that off, and I'm looking forward to it.
As mentioned in the introduction, this was actually the lowest viewed Doctor Who Christmas show yet.
And the third most viewed episode of anything airing on Christmas Day in the UK on Christmas Day, so wildly popular, and then the rest of the world watched it on streaming.
18 years of New Who's history, bringing in only 4.73 million overnight.
Yeah, only 4.7 million people watched a broadcast episode of something on Christmas Day.
Also,
like,
just
even if that is low for Doctor Who, that's fucking spectacular.
So, question: why is 4.3 million a larger number but put under Special 3?
Because it's not a Christmas episode. That was just one of the specials leading up to the Christmas episode.
Okay.
Because that's Doctor Who does that sometimes. They'll have like a few episodes of transition between Doctors at some point.
Viewership, but overnight was actually beaten by 2 out of the 3 60th anniversary shows as well. And as you can see from the console,
yeah, so there it was like more people watched the 60th anniversary special than watched the Christmas special. Like, okay,
and
maybe because Christmas is something that happens every year and 60th anniversary is not.
Could be.
Wild, I know.
Consolidated numbers, which have now been amended correctly.
Apparently they changed the numbers after. I don't know.
As the BBC
Like, this is still fairly close to Christmas, so I don't know how I don't know how they get these numbers or how they determine their accuracy. So, like, maybe there was an amendment that happened. I don't know.
try to fudge those figures. They drop
Did they fudge them, or is it just a thing that's hard to measure sometimes?
between the first special to the second special was 500,000.
Oh, who
And
fucking
by
cares?
time the third special dropped, nearly 1 million viewers had left in the span of a 2-week period. And
Or people don't watch broadcast TV anymore, so they're waiting to watch it on streaming. And those who did watch it on broadcast are like, yeah, I can catch the next ones later.
with the consolidated numbers still to come for the Christmas show, I've got a feeling it's not going to be that great. So in the space of 4 Doctor Who
Just reminder,
But why
not
do I
that
have to
great,
care about what his feeling is?
but still, not that great is the third most watched broadcast in the UK on Christmas Day. I don't know about you, but I would be fucking amazed with those numbers on my channel.
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't get those numbers on Christmas Day.
shows in recent weeks, we've had 2 transgender characters. By the way, the chances of those in actual reality are next to 0. But
What?
Things that, the chances of encountering 2 people that are trans in rapid succession in actual reality are next to 0. Like, have you watched Doctor Who fucking ever? The chances of anything that guy does is next to 0. And it happens all the fucking time. So the fact that 2 trans people existed next to each other. The Doctor didn't even meet the second one. It was just a person who was there
Not to mention
in the background. She had like 2 speaking lines.
If I'm just speaking from personal experience in, regular old boring ass reality, not the fantasy land, the sci-fi land of Doctor Who, but in regular old reality, I can count multiple trans people whose names I don't know, but I happen to interact with them on multiple occasions because they work at the places I frequent.
Yeah.
But don't worry, it's because these are not my friends. There's only one person on the staff of that store who is a friend of mine. Everybody else, I don't fucking know who they are, but I definitely buy burgers from them.
And let's go with like a pretty common number that we hear is 2% of the population is trans, roughly. So if 2% of the population is trans, that is hundreds of millions of people on the planet that are trans.
Mm-hmm.
And you're telling me it's impossible to meet 2 of them? Like, no, the Doctor does way more impossible shit on the regular. Don't tell me that meeting 2 trans... He didn't even meet the second one. It's just someone else who happens to exist in the universe. So, like, a second trans person exists in the Doctor's universe. That's statistically impossible. Fuck off, buddy. You know nothing about statistics.
But never mind, let's carry on. The Doctor being lectured on how pathetic he is as a man because women's know everything, aka...
I don't remember anything about that.
intersectional feminism, and of course remember that one of the women that was lecturing the man was actually a man, but of course
I don't remember any of that happening at all, ever. Like,
Also,
I mean, they leaned heavy into it in one of the specials. I don't know if he's specifically talking about the Christmas one, but like there was never a lecture about it.
don't worry about that. Okay, let's move on again.
But also, like, Doctor Who lectures about morality shit all the time. They are not subtle in their morality plays.
We've then had gay.
No, we had a guy in a kilt, and a trans person existed. That is the only thing that we've had so far that suggests anything other than straight cis hetero.
Also, even if I were to grant his premise, right, that it's unlikely that he would see as many trans people as he has, and that, oh my God, it's just so gay. And my response, if I granted all of that instead of arguing against it, would be, but why do I care? Does it subtract from the show? Is it there's a gay person when there could have been something better and having to explain why something's better for not being gay would have also been a bit of a hard thing for him to do. But just like granting that in its entirety, I don't see what it detracts from anything. Bear in mind,
But
I don't
Okay.
watch Doctor Who,
Cirrus.
but still.
Okay, you don't watch Doctor Who. I'm about to play a clip that might suggest a little bit more gay material than we saw here.
I was much better off as a coward.
Gay.
Oh, no.
I'm so glad to
Sorry, that wasn't
I was
supposed to
much
be
better off as a
so
coward.
big. Rump. And let's, I know you can't hear that, the stream can hear it. But I need
This is
to-
just a gay kiss right there. And which
Yeah,
which
so this is
doctors are those?
The 9th. This was 2005. So this is 2005, Doctor.
I was much better off as a coward.
Nice little kiss right on the lips.
I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah, well, you can kiss me later. You too, Frank, if you want.
I was much.
So, an actual kiss with a man, and then telling another man, "You can kiss me too if you want." That was from like, I searched for those like 10 minutes before this stream. Like when you popped into the Zoom call, I was editing those two clips together and trying to export them.
That's what you were exporting.
So
Okay.
like that was how little effort it took to find clips of the Doctor being way more gay than he was in the Christmas episode. Like an actual kiss on the lips with another man, way more gay than anything that happened in this Christmas episode.
Gay, doctor.
Gay,
And then,
gay.
of course, we had the lecture on pronouns, which, of course, if you're not dumb as fuck, you understand goes alongside with compelled speech.
No, it fucking doesn't. It's just
No,
being
not
respectful.
really.
It's just being respectful to people. That's all it is. And like the lecture on pronouns, the only thing I can think of that might be that was there was like a part in one of the, like, I think it was the first special where the meep, the Doctor started referring to him as just meep,
Mhm.
and then called him a he, and then the trans character in that episode was like, "Doctor, did you just assume the meep's pronouns?" And then the meep was like, "Oh, my chosen pronoun is the definite article, so I am always the meep." And then, yeah, and then from then on, it was the meep. And that was it. It was just kind of a throwaway joke. It wasn't a lecture. It was just a joke.
I now understand.
And that was like, and the Doctor was like, "Oh yeah, I do that too. I am the Doctor."
Fortunately, there is a lot of dumb people. And with these coming at you like a bloody sledgehammer, is it any wonder that people are turning off in droves? Or
No, it doesn't come at you like a bloody sledgehammer. Like this, I don't think he's seen that episode because like he's literally showed all of the potential gay stuff in the entire episode. And it amounts to the Doctor twirled in a kilt.
Now I understand this card. I just sent you on WhatsApp. But for people who are in the chat who want to know, I just sent Rhino the Doctor Who's secret layer with the 14th Doctor, 15th Doctor, Celestial Toymaker, Rose Noble, and the Meep. I had no idea what the fuck the Meep was. I now know what the Meep is.
Okay. Yeah, and the toy maker is what's his face? Oh God, I'm blanking on his name. I know his name. I do. For some reason, David Ogden Stiers keeps popping into my mind, but it's definitely not David Ogden Stiers. Everybody's going to be saying his name. Come on. Neil Patrick Harris. That's the one. NPH. That's all I needed was the NPH. I know his name.
Okay. Don't misgender the Meep.
My partner is in the chat now saying, "I kind of want to watch this now." So there we go. I will make a Whovian out of you yet.
Or are they just bigots and phobes and yada
Yeah,
yada
you're a bigot
yada?
and a phobe if you
The
can't
simple
handle this
answer is,
shit.
of course, no, of course they're not.
Yes, you are. If you can't handle, if you think this is too much preaching about pronouns in New Who, you're a transphobe. You're a bigot. If you think there's too many trans people in Doctor Who with the grand total of 2, then you're a bigot. I'm actually impressed that he hasn't. So the main companion character is a white girl who was adopted by black parents in a black family. So he hasn't
said anything about
he
that
hasn't
yet.
said anything about race yet. So maybe we'll at least get him not being racist.
This is why pushing a partisan ideology is just cancerous for your show, because you're coming from the position that
It's so cancerous to be the third most watched show on Christmas Day.
What if so hear me out. Something can be partisan and also be correct.
Yeah. Not like Lady Ballers.
Yeah.
That was see, and like I said with the Lady Ballers thing, like there's a way to do that and be funny. They didn't do it. You would have to actually do something that is correspondent to reality, but they never managed that.
Nope.
My partner is home and she just sent me a picture of the dog poop that is apparently out in the hallway, which I don't know how she managed that because she's wearing a diaper because we were kind of sluggish in getting her spayed, so she's in heat again.
You think you're always right. Now, where have we heard this before?
I mean, the think they were always right thing was kind of my problem with the Chibnall era, was that the Doctor is always right, even when the thing she decides to do is torture some things to death instead of just shooting them. Not dinner, no. So, like, yeah, that was one of my problems with the Chibnall era. I haven't seen that in the new one yet. Yeah, the Doctor did seem to make some mistakes that the companions kind of made up for, but it wasn't like we haven't seen enough of the new Doctor to really know.
Quest, human race back in the future. Why does everyone think they're right?
So that they win. I made every opinion supreme. That's the game of the 21st century.
Projection was always a bit of a problem when it came to far left ideology.
Yeah, no, he's that was the episode before the Christmas special where Neil Patrick Harris comes in. He's the toy maker, and the whole thing is the world has descended into chaos because everybody is now 100% convinced that they are correct in everything, and every opinion they have is the right opinion, and everybody else that disagrees is wrong.
Yeah, it's weird.
And so it's a very obvious analogy for how we interact online. There was a very obvious through line to anti-vax conspiracy theories in that, like, there's a simple piece of technology that anybody could get and put it on their arm and they would turn it on and that would get rid of that effect and you could be normal again. But everybody was denouncing that as, you know, a deep state conspiracy to control you or whatever. So, like, yeah, there was some kind of obvious, these are the positions we hold thing, but like Doctor Who has always been like that. Always. It's not a subtle show.
It's like when people get mad about overt political messaging in Star Wars. Like, buddy,
yeah.
It's been there for a while.
Did you not see that episode of the original series with the people that were half black and half white? It doesn't get more obvious than that.
But as opposed to a fictional situation where people think they're right, they actually do think that they're right, and therefore their opinion becomes, in their eyes, fact. And
this feels like projection.
It does, because, like, again, this comes back to the Lady Ballers thing where, like, their whole thing was, like, we're going to do a documentary about guys who join girls' sports teams and then dominate. But it turns out that it's not that easy, even though we've been scaremongering about it being that easy for years. So we're going to make it a comedy instead. And then it's not funny because that's not actually something that happens. So your observational humor fails because it's not observing something in reality. It's projecting its own reality and then making fun of its projection of reality instead of what's actually real. So it just
at
falls
that point
flat.
it's just bad parody.
Yeah, like it's like it doesn't even rise to the level of offensive because it's just like you clearly don't even have a basic understanding of the issue.
Instead of trying to win people over with your deeds, you end up doing things like demanding respect, like some goddamn heel wrestler from the WWF.
Okay, nobody demanded respect in that clip.
And everybody
just
else
for the record.
will respect me.
Nobody demanded respect. That was not a clip that he showed.
Do you know why heel wrestlers demand respect?
Because I saw this before I saw the episode, and I'm like, okay, well, now I'm going to see the speech where the Doctor demands respect or whatever. It never happens.
It's because it's such an easy way to get heat from the crowd, because everybody knows respect is earned.
Yeah, and nobody in Doctor Who demanded respect. This is entirely projection. I don't believe that he's seen these episodes.
You don't get respect when you demand it. You earn your respect. So when you get people saying, you will respect my pronouns, you will
Nobody said that. Like one person said, hey, did you just assume that person's pronouns? And then the doctor was like, oh yeah, sorry. What are your pronouns? There was no demand of respect there. The meep was going to just go along with it if the doctor did not ask the pronouns.
As just makes me... You know, it's weird. So when he said his like very, very vitriolic far left ideology, like it was, you know, just toxic in his mouth, I don't know if it's because I wasn't looking out for it or because it genuinely wasn't there like 5-6 years ago when I used to listen to him for like MMO content. So I don't know if that's a newer development where like now he's got a partisan audience where he's specifically trying to pander to them or what. Well, I need to go watch some older shit to see.
I almost want to say that would be an easy rabbit hole to fall down into, because there was a period of time where anytime I made any video on my main channel that was in any way pro LGBTQ, I would lose subscribers significantly.
Yeah.
It has now gotten to the point where there is an initial loss of subscribers, but then in the long term, whatever video it is gains subscribers. So I have gradually like shifted my audience over to people who are not right-wing assholes who, you know, I just want to say that God's not real. And as soon as it comes to anything about gender ideology or anything like that, you know, I'm clearly a right-wing asshole. So like those people have gradually figured out that, oh, hey, this Rhino guy is woke and is like pro social justice. I know, justice, such a bad thing to be in favor of. So I feel like there's an alternate universe where I saw my audience disappearing whenever I made any pro LGBTQ content, and decided that the lesson to learn from that is not, oh, I need to continue making this content so that I get an audience that I actually vibe with, but, oh, I need to pander to the audience to get what's going to make me the most money, which is the anti-LGBTQ stuff.
It's funny. So there was an experiment I made a long time ago. I did a collaboration with a YouTuber. I'm not going to say who because it's not important. But I knew that their content was very apolitical. So there was a high likelihood that I was going to get a lot of, you know, those assholes. I want to say God not real, but also like all this left-wing stuff bad. So the video that I released directly after that collaboration, I timed them so that the video that came out right afterwards was one where I was talking about Pokemon for about 4 minutes, and it just ended up being a conversation about gender.
Yeah.
Where the entire time Pokemon was a framing device to go, hey, so when your friend tells you their name is now Stacy, suddenly that's hard to remember. But when your Bulbasaur evolved to an Ivysaur, you knew that shit. And I watched like a surge of subscribers and then a drop of subscribers, and it ended up evening out. But like, I remember doing that specifically because I knew that rubber band was going to end up happening, and I wanted that filter.
So I'm sorry, I have to point this out. I have no idea what this is. I just have IMDb open on my other screen here, and right now it's on Millie Gibson's page. She's the person who plays Ruby in the new Doctor Who.
All right.
And there's a video that started playing that I guess is a trailer for something else that she's in. And yeah, I've been mostly ignoring it, but then I saw an old lady put a pair of panties on her head. I'm like, I can relate to that tonight.
Oh my God.
So I don't know what it is, but it seemed relevant. Anyway, I don't think we need to really finish this. I've said most of what I needed to say with regards to this. So let's get on to the tweets, shall we?
Fair.
Okay, so... Oh, is this the first one? Okay, so we're starting with Mary Tally Bowden, MD, who I only saw because Marjorie Taylor Greene reposted it, or retweeted it.
Of course she did.
It says, the COVID shots do not protect the elderly. People in the 65 plus demographic are 5 times more likely to die from inoculation as from COVID-19 under the most favorable assumptions. The data is there if you can find it. Sources in the comments, please add to it. I didn't see any comments with sources in it. And yeah, no, I don't know where they're getting this information from. The article, however, what I found interesting about this, it's not so much the claim, because that's debunked nonsense. Like, you look at the date on the article. It's from 2021. So this is 2 years, almost 3 years old at this point. So it's nothing new. There's all sorts of fact check websites that have pointed out that like, oh, well, the old folks home in Spain that had the 100% rate of COVID eventually while being inoculated, turns out that the COVID infection happened while they were inoculating. So it was like they were racing to get healthy people vaccinated before they got the virus. And because of the incubation period, that made it difficult. And, you know, some people died because it's an old folks home with a disease that is deadly to old folks running through it. And that's really all there was to it. But what I found most interesting about this is that if you actually Google that headline, that is a Chinese tabloid that cites a Russian propaganda mill as their source for this. So this is a representative in the American government retweeting misinformation coming from Chinese propaganda that cites Russian propaganda as its source. And they want to complain about Hunter Biden having a business in China.
Look, Hunter Biden's laptop is very important, Rhino. Don't you understand?
I know, it's got his dick on it. Heaven forbid someone have their own personal dick pics on their own personal laptop. As we've already established, you can see my penis if you know where to look on my computer. And that's not something that I plan to make public, but if it gets made public, it's not on me. That's just something that people have sometimes.
I mean, we could just find your dick pics by logging into your computer illegally.
Yeah, and then
just using the webcam.
And then say that I have no shame because you broke into my computer.
Yep. 110%. I'll put it in front of Congress and everything.
No, that's what Lobo did. I mean, no, it was MTG that put it. Yeah, she put it in front of Congress, but Lobo was the one who said he has no shame because of his laptop.
You have no shame being a man with a dick.
And that was after she was caught being fondled in a public theater. Anyway, I just thought it was amusing. Well, not amusing, more scary that a member of Congress was retweeting obvious propaganda from known propaganda sources as if it's true. Oh, speaking of Lauren Boebert, says, I posted a few months ago how our national debt hit a historic 33 trillion. Here we are just a few months later, and we've now hit 34 trillion in debt. These piles and piles of debt that we've racked up over the years are an albatross around every American citizen's neck. And yet Democrats only want to spend more and more. The funny thing about this is the Republicans tend to be the one that increase the debt the most. Like, Trump increased it by $8 trillion. Joe Biden so far has increased it by, I want to say it's like 5 or 6 trillion. So like if he continues at this rate, he will have increased the national debt significantly less than Trump. And like the presidents in history that have increased the national debt by the biggest percentage overall have been the ones that were president during World War I and World War II. And it was the world wars that did it.
Yeah, you'd kind of expect it during that.
And then after that, it's all Republicans and Obama. Because Obama had the 2008 crisis to deal with, which was a Bush-era budget that was passed that didn't take effect until Obama was president. So, like, even Obama's large raise of the debt could be blamed on Bush if you really wanted to. He did do stuff that increased it more, but, like, Republicans are the ones who increased the debt. It's just like Reagan was, like, up there in the top 5 of like people who increased the debt by the most percent, and there was no war while Reagan was president. I mean, the Cold War, that doesn't really count.
It's funny, we spent a shit ton of money during the Cold War, though, both in funding.
Yeah, but like Reagan took office when it was beginning to ramp down, and it was in the tear down this wall era.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
It's literally one of the things he's most famous for is ramping down the Cold War, and he still managed to be one of the top increasers of the national debt by percentage.
Thanks, Lobo. Yeah. Thanks for being that guy.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's the Republicans who increase it, but they increase it on military spending, whereas the Democrats increase it on things that will actually like help people.
Like infrastructure?
Yeah. So, like, I'm sorry, but if given the choice, I'll take the stuff that helps people over military shit. And then they'll turn right around and be like, why is the like, I didn't save this for the tweets, but someone posted like it was a world map that had like a bunch of like American military base locations. And it was like, why do we have all our soldiers over here instead of at the Mexican border where they could protect our actual country?
Because the Mexican border is not a fucking threat?
Yeah, no, not only is it not a fucking threat, especially like even if you consider it a threat from an immigration standpoint, it's not a military threat. So sending the military there is not the solution to that problem. But like, even so, you guys are the ones saying we need this big ass military. So like, make up your fucking minds.
What do we have next after Lobo's dumb butt?
And Sakura says it's not just the military, they also give tax breaks to the wealthy and major corporations. Yeah, that was one of the biggest increases, like outside of the COVID pandemic, which I will give Trump a little bit of credit. A good chunk of his increase of the national debt was because of COVID. But outside of that, the biggest increase was his tax cut to the billionaires. Like, he was already on track to be one of the biggest increases of the national debt in history before the pandemic. And then the pandemic made it even bigger.
I have to wonder what would happen if we actually got the debt to zero. Probably nothing.
Yeah. Well, so the thing is, like, the way the national debt works, a lot of people don't really understand this. It's like, it's people that hold, like, mutual funds in other countries that buy, like, American bonds. And it's like, I will buy this, like the mutual fund buys the bonds under the understanding that it's a safe investment, that like it's guaranteed to pay back a certain amount of, like a certain percentage over the course of time. So like whatever else happens in the portfolio, having these safe ones here, you know, it might not be an amazing return on investment, but at least it's a return on investment. And if the debt gets too out of control, then people will no longer be buying these bonds because you can't guarantee that they're actually going to pay out. And that can cause could cause a worldwide global financial crisis as opposed to a not worldwide global crisis. You know what I mean? And that's only a small part of it. Like, that's not even the whole thing, but like, I have financed some of the American debt because I have a portfolio that has some American stuff in it. And, you know, the bank that I do that through is like, if it gets to a point where the Republicans are like, no, we're not going to raise the debt ceiling, so we can't continue making the interest payments on these things, then banks are going to be like, okay, that's more of a risky investment. So the people that say I want a safe investment aren't going to want that anymore. And then you're going to have a harder time getting the debt to do stuff. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that. I'm way oversimplifying this, but that is a part of it, at least.
I'm assuming you know more about it than Lobo, so
probably. Although the organization that tracks how much politicians make on the stock market has posted the recent figures, and Lobo doesn't do too bad. All right, DC Drano, complete troll. I was putting the show together a bit at the last minute. I don't normally go for DC Drano because he's beneath me, generally. He says, tweeting doesn't do anything. Well, it took down Bud Light, Target, Disney, and the woke president of Harvard, so...
But it didn't take down any of those people. It had nothing to do with Twitter. Not to mention, Bud Light's still running strong. Target's still running strong. Disney is still running strong. What?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I actually did a spreadsheet. I looked up the numbers because I can never make anything easy on myself, because why the fuck would I do that? Untitled spreadsheet, because I didn't give it a title. Okay, so Disney in 2022 made $82.72 billion. In 2023, they made $88.9 billion for a increase year over year of 7.47%. That doesn't sound like they took them down. Target made $106 billion in 2022 and $109 billion in 2023 for a percent increase of 2.94%. Again, that's not an amazing increase, but it's nothing to shake a stick at, especially when you're talking billions of dollars. Now, InBev, which is the company that owns Bud Light, they haven't released their quarter 4 2023 numbers yet, so I only did Q1, 2, and 3 for 2022 rather than looking at Q4 and doing the overall thing. So between Q1, 2, and 3, they made $43.12 billion. Q1, 2, and 3 of 2023, they made $44.91 billion for an increase of 4.15%. Q2 is when the boycott happened. They only increased their revenue in Q2 year over year by 2.21%. So, yeah, that's such terrible numbers. They only increased by 2%.
If your business is growing by 2% every year, that's actually a good thing.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good rate.
Now that is InBev. So Bud Light, as a subsidiary of InBev, has actually taken a hit. And a not insignificant hit. In fact, they've laid off, I think it's 400 workers in North America. So what they accomplished by their boycott of Bud Light was they hurt American workers, and the corporate executives that make all the money from the companies still made a shit ton of money through the other brands that they own.
So the people responsible for the decision they disagree with suffered not at all.
The only people that suffered were working class Americans working at the plants that they shut down because people weren't buying as much Bud Light anymore.
You know, these are the types of people who shoot themselves in the foot no matter what.
Or in the beer, as if you're Kid Rock.
No. He didn't shoot the beer. A guy off screen shot the beer.
But also, like, the president of Harvard, have you read into this at all?
No, I haven't. I've seen...
So
I saw it pop up in my feed, but that's about it.
So she resigned. There were some allegations of plagiarism. My understanding is that the initial allegations Harvard investigated, and they were like, yeah, one of your papers needed 2 more citations, but other than that, you're fine. And like...
yes, another victim of H-Bomber guy.
Yeah, basically. Sure. But like, I've done enough... Like, I can see how you might miss a couple citations in a big project. I get that. Whatever. There have been more allegations since then, though, although they haven't been investigated yet, and they haven't necessarily been substantiated yet, so they are, at this point, just allegations. And given the people doing the allegating, I'm not confident saying that they are accurate. Now, if they are accurate, then absolutely resigning is the appropriate thing to do. However... At the moment, what it looks like is she forgot to include a couple citations in one of her papers, and then because of some testimony she gave in front of Congress, she has been bullied by the right wing for being black to the point where she felt the need to resign for her own safety because she's getting threats and stuff from the right.
Oh.
And a lot of it is racially based because she is a black lady. And what happened was they were brought, like, there was her, the president of MIT, and I think it was the University of Pennsylvania, were brought before Congress, and they were asked, like, does calling for the genocide of the Jews constitute a violation of your code of conduct where discipline would be meted out? And they all answered something along the lines of, it would depend on the context, because this was being asked by a Republican, and as we know, they don't like to do things honestly. They weren't framing it honestly. They were just asking, like, they were just saying, does calling for the genocide of the Jews constitute a violation of the code of conduct? When in reality, the situation that they were alluding to was like a protest against Israel invading Palestine. And sometimes there were people that don't really know the political ins and outs that were using slogans that could be construed as a call for genocide. And so in that context, it's like, no, that's not necessarily a violation of the code of conduct to a point where we would take disciplinary actions, but like, yeah, maybe don't call for this thing that historically has been kind of genocidal in nature. And yeah, so they were trying to walk that line between this politician is asking me this thing that, like, the way she's asking it, it should have a clear yes or no, but she is referencing a situation that did not have a clear yes or no. And there was more nuance to it than that. So how do I navigate this in a way that addresses the nuance without saying it's okay to call for the genocide of Jews? Because it's not. And
Yeah,
I think
because at that point, if you don't answer it correctly, it could be constrained and it could be conveyed that you don't think that teaching the Holocaust is okay, because part of teaching the Holocaust would be explaining the nature of the genocidal language that was used against the Jews.
Well, yeah, and so I looked into this because the thing that I forget who it was, but the person who was asking them, the Republican senator who was asking them, was specifically referencing a word that in Palestine has historically referred to the violent rebellion against Israel's occupation. And if you don't know the cultural context of that word, I could see how you could interpret that as just being like, oh no, Israel is oppressing these people, so I am calling for resistance to that. But because the word that they were using has specifically been tied to violence in the past, there was a very much pro-Israel, very much pro-Jewish website that was like explaining why this comes across as genocidal. But even they, on this very much pro-Israel, pro-Jewish website, was like, yeah, no, it doesn't necessarily mean the people that are saying it are calling for genocide. They might just not fully understand the context, but we're explaining why this sounds like a call to genocide for us. And I think that's perfectly valid. And this, like, if anything, it falls more in the lines of white people who have no cultural, no idea of what's going on culturally in the area, trying to, come in and be white saviors or whatever. And like, I kind of like, I get that from the perspective of the white guy who's like, I want to do something to help because both sides are being fucking stupid in the Israel versus Hamas thing. And like, they're just normal people that are there that are being harmed by these stupid ideological driven nonsense. And like, I just want to help those people. And yeah, fighting against the oppressor sounds like a good way to do that. But they don't fully understand that, some of the words they're using come across as calling for a genocide. And so from the perspective of an administrator at a school, it's like, I want the students to have the freedom to make those mistakes and then learn from them, as opposed to just like, oh no, you said that word, so you're expelled. Oh, Stefanik is the Republican Elise Stefanik is the person who is doing the questioning.
Like, especially if you're in a position as an educator, your goal is to give somebody context, let somebody know, hey, this is not a good thing to say because this. If you just expel somebody because they said something and they didn't know what the context of it was, all you're going to do is take that person and push them further into extremism. Well, if you haven't given them that opportunity.
So Steve Weber is saying she's either anti-Semitic or she's anti-free speech. The scenario is a trap. That's exactly it.
Yep, it is a double bind, which is a thing that abusers put you in.
Yeah, and it's like, and Stefanik in the hearing, she's very much like, this is a very clear yes, no. Like, does calling for genocide of Jewish people violate your code of conduct? This should be a very easy yes. And it's like, yeah, phrase like that, it should be. However, the thing you're referring to was not necessarily seen as a call for genocide among the people who were saying it. And like, and you got to keep in mind, like, the same people that are saying like, oh, they need to resign because they said calling for genocide is okay. These same people were defending the people in Charlottesville or Charlotte, whatever it was, that were chanting,
Charlottesville.
Yeah, that were chanting Jews will not replace us. They were defending those people.
Don't you understand, Rhino? Now there were good people on both sides.
Yeah, but now they're getting all offended because some people are using a word that could be interpreted as a call for genocide, but they don't necessarily understand that. I don't know. This is just the whole thing is just dishonesty all the way down.
The only way that you could answer that question without getting trapped is the school's position is that we do not support intentional and targeted use of genocidal rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
Is the only and it's you
that
have
was
to be
basically
so
what they
careful.
said. That was basically what they said, Cyrus. They were like, if there's genocidal rhetoric being directed at specific people, absolutely that violates our code of conduct. Like, they said that flat out, and people are still calling for the resignation. So Dapper's Invagination Station and All Points West says, can one be pro-Jewish but anti-Israel? Yes, absolutely.
Of course.
So, like, this is another thing where, like, anti-Semitism is on the rise. And, like, I sympathize more with the people of Palestine than Israel, because Israel is the oppressor in this situation. But that does not mean that it's okay to be like, you're Jewish, so you're bad. Like, they're just fucking human beings. Deal with people as though they're people. All people are people.
You don't say that Americans are bad. You say that America is bad, and we are a nation that has built an empire in all but name. And that's not me directly quoting Noam Chomsky, but it is actually me directly quoting Noam Chomsky if you haven't read any of his books. But it is perfectly reasonable to say that America as a nation has engaged in destabilization of otherwise peaceful nations, has engaged in exploitation of other nations, has taken over shit that is not rightfully its, like that. Those are all fair things to do. But it's when you say Americans, the people who live here, who most of the time don't even have a fucking choice, we just screw up here. When you bridge that line, that's a problem. And the reason I frame it as through the lens of Americans is nobody's worried about being too anti-American unless you're like on the right and you've got a bunch of boogeymen in the closet.
Yeah.
So if you use that framing device and go, okay, these are the ways that I think language would be comfortable. These are the ways I think language would not be comfortable. Now, just reframe it to Israel and people who are living within Israel who are predominantly Jewish, because it's a religious ethno-state, let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, so Sakura is pointing out that a lot of anti-Semitic evangelicals are pro-Israel. And that's because in order to bring about the end times as prophesied by the Bible, the chosen people need to reconquer the Holy Land or whatever. I forget the exact details of it, but like the battle at Armageddon is a big thing.
Yeah, they believe
Armageddon
that
is a valley in Israel.
They believe that the establishment and the proliferation of Israel is a necessary beginning step, and even one of the first main steps.
That's the whole reason why the United States supported the formation of Israel in the first place as a nation.
If you want to understand the fetishization of Israel as it relates to Armageddon and the tribulation, I highly recommend taking some time to read the Tim LaHaye Left Behind series, because I grew up with that series, and if you read that series, there is a lot of stuff in the early the first two books about the establishment of Israel, the political nature of getting that nation to be what it needs to be for the grand stage of Nikolai Carpathia. That's a huge narrative device in that book series, to the point where when you get further into the book series, they even have to start establishing believer camps in the middle of Israel, specifically because that's where all the war and conflict starts to be centered later on into the novels. Yeah. So if you want to understand that shit,
that's because the Bible says that there's going to be a bunch of wars specifically in that area, followed by a 7-year peace treaty.
Thought weren't the exact words wars and rumors of wars the vaguest way you could possibly describe it.
My favorite thing though is like every single one of the end times movies or book series or whatever, like always the bad guys in the books or show or whatever are the people who bring world peace. Like, oh, they brought world peace. They're obviously the bad guys who are the Antichrist and anti-God. And we're like, they brought world peace, though. Is that not a good thing?
Yeah, I I feel weird recommending that book series to people because I know how shit it is.
Oh, there are ways to get it without paying the authors.
There are certainly ways to get it.
I'm not going to say, but I believe our audiences are intelligent enough to figure that out.
I have been watching a lot of One Piece.
All right. Next up. Marissa says, I used to watch porn, lust after women, practice New Age spirituality, cuss, drink, steal, smoke weed, gossip, be hateful, fight, lie, listen to secular music, use people for gain, and much more. Jesus Christ freed me.
Oh, wait. But you got restricted from doing all of those things then. That wasn't free. Unless
this is one of those 1984 freedom is slavery things where, like, you know, the freeing feeling you get under Jesus is you are now free to not do all these things that everybody else is free to do. It's just completely back-asswards.
Like, if you go down the list, right, there are unhealthy ways to engage in every single one of those things, right?
Yeah.
You can have porn addiction.
I unhealthily engage in drinking every Wednesday, but this is not how I normally drink. I don't normally drink as much as I do.
So are you saying I drive you to drinking?
I am nowhere near as drunk today as I was when I was drinking the scotch, which I actually still have. Like, I haven't touched this since I drank half the bottle of scotch on stream.
Was that last week?
I think it was. And there was a good 3 or 4 days where it's like, I kind of want a beer, but also my body is like, no, you add too much alcohol.
Like, so you can have a porn addiction. That's unhealthy. And there's a lot of evidence to suggest that porn addiction is a very, very hard thing for people to even try to recover from. And it rewires the brain when you consume too much of it. It's like, yeah, there's a vice there. I can get that. Lusting after women, if you're Master Roshi, probably don't do that shit.
Well, I mean, considering this person is female presenting, I'm guessing that carries the extra sin of homosexuality.
I would assume so. But, like, so you're practicing New Age spirituality. I thought freedom of religion was a good thing, personally. I only really have a problem with cursing if people are using it as 90% of their language.
Okay, the New Age spirituality thing, even if you believe Christianity is true, you would think that Christianity would be able to stand up against spirituality on its own merits.
Yeah.
So, like, if you try both, Christianity is the clear winner.
It should be there were these anti-drug PSAs when I was a kid that were like very, very Christian. I can't remember what they were, but I remember shit like try a hit of Jesus instead. That type of rhetoric. Like, he's the strongest drug you'll ever have, man.
Yeah, I remember those.
So that's what I'm getting there.
Cussing, it depends on the intention behind it. And, like, I would say that the Bible actually supports me with this because it's like talking about, like, being uplifting to your fellow brothers or whatever. And like there is no Bible verse that says thou shalt not say fuck.
Yeah, it says it's like the closest you get is the whole like thou shalt not swear ish.
It's not even thou shalt not swear. It's like you don't curse, but like even then, it's not cursing as in using swear words. It's cursing as in like
practicing magic.
May a devil curse you for being mean to me, and like you'll have bad luck for the rest of your life. Like, that's what it means by cursing. It doesn't mean swearing.
Also, just like skipping down the way, because like we could go over how each and every one of these could be a bad vice or just like a mundane thing people do. People steal to live. People smoke weed for pain relief.
Well, like, don't drink. The first miracle Jesus did was
water to wine,
turning water to wine so that a drunken party could continue.
So
and, like, the guy flat out stated that everybody was already drunk because, like, that was the whole thing, is that most people give the good wine at first before everybody's drunk. Then once everybody's drunk, they bring out the shit to like make the rest of the party cheap. But you brought out the good wine after everybody's drunk to keep the party going.
So the one that I kind of want to focus on the most, though, listening to secular music. First of all,
I got that as well. Like,
what the fuck is secular music?
Yeah, because like I really like the Toccata and Fugue by Bach in D minor. It's like that's the for those who aren't familiar, that's the it's the kind of like Dracula spooky organ going
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, if you listen to the whole thing, it's very intricate. It's like Bach composed it not to be a beautiful piece of music, but to be something to test the bellows of the organs that he was installing. It's like it goes all out on the bellows mechanism, and it's amazing, and I love it. And it's like all the different voices that get used in the organ throughout it. Like, I don't like the orchestrated versions. I like the organ version because I love me a good pipe organ. I love an organ. I love the organ. But like, there's nothing religious about it. It's completely secular. What's wrong with it?
Yeah, that's why I'm sitting here like, so what is secular music versus just fucking music?
Mozart literally composed a piece that, when you translate it into English, is "Lick Me in the Asshole." Like, that's the name of the piece. You didn't know that one?
I did not know that. No. Don't type in "lick me in the asshole" into Google live on stream. That's probably not a smart idea.
Wikipedia is pretty safe, generally. Leck mich im Arsch, German for "lick me in the arse," is a canon in B-flat major composed by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. With lyrics in German. It was one of a set of at least 6 canons, probably written in Vienna in 1782, sung by 6 voices in a 3-part round. It is thought to be a party piece for his friends. So, like, does that count as secular music?
Yeah, I don't know. And that's the thing. I don't know what you would call secular music outside of just fucking music. And don't try to be like, oh, well, the only thing I listen to is stuff that comes out of the hymnal. Because I'm going to be honest.
Some Christian music is good. Like Beethoven's Fifth. Very Christian. Very good. Okay. But like, Beethoven wrote other stuff that was not Christian, but was also very good.
Owl City is a Christian band, and they made Fireflies.
Yeah.
It's a good song.
Yeah.
The only thing I think of when I think... So, like, when I hear Christian music, right? Just the term Christian music. There's 2 things that come into my head. Either it's shit straight from the hymnal, or I'm hearing, give me that Christian side hug. Or I'm hearing that again.
Virginity is cool. Virginity is... I actually have that one. I still have that. I could probably play it now if I looked for it, but I don't feel like looking for it. So. Yeah, so it's just, I don't know. This whole thing is just weird, even from a Christian perspective. Like, use people for gain and much more. Jesus Christ freed me. I feel like the atheists that I know are less likely to use people for gain than the Christians. Like, okay, Capturing Christianity, just freaking on Twitter today, he posted like his performance from 2022 versus 2023. And he was like, oh, look how much I've grown over 2023. And he posted screenshots of the YouTube graph of your analytics, but he cut off the very right-hand portion of the graph, which is where the revenue is kept.
Yeah.
And that post had him saying, hey, I need a bunch more money to do a bunch of ministry stuff. So it's like, it's
transparent as fuck.
Like, we've talked about this before. Like, you have shown your finances live on stream. I will never do that because I'm a very private individual. I don't want people knowing my finances. And I fully support anybody who wants to be private with their finances. That's their business. Like when Linus Tech Tips goes to their finance page on the YouTube thing and just shows it on one of their videos, I'm just like, why would you show that? That seems like private stuff. But like, they're a company and it's a transparency thing or whatever. And it just seems wrong to me that they do that. But like Cameron, he's running a charity. He is registered as a 501c3. If you donate to Capturing Christianity, the ministry, that is a tax-deductible donation, and he receives your money, and he does not have to pay taxes on it. You can actually go to... He did file a... what is it, a 990? The income
I'm not
form
certain.
The income form that charitable organizations in the States...
501c3?
Yeah, the charitable organizations file that shows what their income is and where it went. He filed one of those up until 2021. He did not file one for 2022. I'd be very surprised if he filed one for 2023. Because in 2021, he made like $183,000 through his ministry. And I can tell you, he was not getting the views to get that from YouTube. That was mostly donations.
That was donos.
So like, as a YouTuber, like I like looking at his numbers, I'm like, I can kind of guess at what his YouTube income is. Like
here's how I was when I was
making
doing
fucking
the
bank. The dude is making fucking bank, and he doesn't have to report it.
When I was looking at the Boogie interview, I had the same feeling of like, I know what my channel looks like at certain numbers, so I know what your channel should look like at these numbers.
Yeah,
and the maths ain't mathin'.
Yeah, so like he's making a lot of, and is also this was for a previous video ages ago, but like his when I looked up his charity, it's registered to an address, and when you look up that address, it's just a house. So it's probably just his house is owned by his charity. So like his whole income.
Wait. His house. That means that his
whole fucking income, his whole life is just lived tax-free. And he's begging for money as a YouTuber. And I can tell you, YouTuber, we have no fucking overhead. The only overhead we have is our basic living expenses.
Yeah, the only overhead that I have is the stuff that I choose to have as overhead. If I go, I need a new model, I am paying for that. That's technically overhead, but I'm choosing to do that.
My most expensive piece of equipment is my lens. It was like $800, and it was just like I threw it on my Amazon wish list as a just kind of maybe I'll remember to buy this when I have it in the budget years from now. And then just somebody bought it for me. And I'm just like, holy fucking shit. I now have an $800 piece of equipment. This is amazing.
Yup.
Anyway, Heidi says, bring on the DC talk.
The DC talk?
What will people think if they hear that I'm a Jesus freak? What will people do when they say that it's true?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I know the Christian songs.
What if God were one of us? What if he died getting hit by a bus? What?
Okay, bringing on the case orbs. The last presidential candidate to be removed from the ballots was Abraham Lincoln by the Democrats because they wanted to keep their slaves. Okay, ignoring the fact that the party switched sides in the 50s. So the Democrats of the 1800s were the Republicans. Like, who's joining the KKK now? It ain't the Democrats. Like, it doesn't matter who did it in the past. It's who's doing it now.
I registered Republican. I voted for Donald Trump. And I think this white hat looks great on me.
Yeah. But also, the removed from the ballots is not entirely true. You'll be surprised to know. So, back in Lincoln's day, they didn't really have ballots the same way they do today. It was kind of like you could provide ballots in areas if you chose to as a member of a party. And Abe Lincoln chose not to provide ballots with his name already on it for a bunch of states that were slaveholding states that weren't going to vote for him.
Wait, so he did it on his own?
Yeah, he did it on his own. He wasn't removed by the Democrats. And on top of that, most of the quote-unquote ballots back then were not ballots. It was just a sheet of paper that you would write your candidate's name on and put it in the special box.
Oh, boy. That's wonderful.
So, like, it wasn't even, like, there weren't even ballots in any sense even remotely similar to what you do today.
Kevin Sorbo lying on the internet? Who would have thought?
Senshini says, I'm here. We can start now. Hi, Senshini.
All right, let's take it from the top.
Yeah, let's go all the way back to... Let's watch some more of Babyface Guy. Fucking pronouns!
Left-wing ideology. Gay.
Guy. What
the fuck?
Meanwhile, never mind the fact that in other episodes, the doctor literally kissed another man. But yeah, the fact that he's wearing a kilt in this one makes him gay.
He's gay.
Whatever. Kevin Sorbo again says, we got rid of the name Redskins because it was offensive, but we still have a cotton bowl. Okay, so first off, Redskins is an offensive way to refer to an entire race of people. And the cotton bowl was just like, hey, we're in the South and we grow a lot of cotton and it's a football thing. And like, it's a college football thing. And like the Rose Bowl happens in a place known for its roses. So we're going to do the Cotton Bowl in a place known for its cotton.
Known for its cotton.
And now, yes, there could very well be racist implications there because, like, slaves picked a lot of cotton. That was a thing that they did. So, like, I could see there being some racist roots there. But my understanding is that it's not. It's just that's where cotton happens to grow. And so they called it the Cotton Bowl. And this was one of the few things in American history that was not directly named after a racist thing. It was just like, oh, well, the Rose Bowl is already established, and this is an area known for cotton, so we're going to do Cotton Bowl. So, like, yeah, it's about the origins, Kevin.
Jesus Christ. Why is it that every single time that we see a tweet from Kevin Sorbo, it is more disappointing than the last? It is never. I mean, I'm never impressed by something that comes out of this man's mouth.
Sometimes I feel bad about using Kevin Sorbo tweets because I know he literally had a stroke when he was Hercules, and that affected his cognitive abilities. So like this feels like picking on the disabled person, but like he's so influential that it's like, no, you need to be taken down a peg.
Yeah. Hi, Growlith. I see that you are growling at me, as is your namesake. How are you doing, hun?
So, last tweet, Kevin Sorbo again says, your ancestors were immigrants. They came here homeless and found work. They weren't given hotel rooms and care packages.
Oh boy.
So yeah, no. When the white people showed up in North America, no, they weren't given hotel rooms and care packages, but
they came with smallpox blankets.
Yeah, no, they didn't just like come and find work and employment. They came and like genocided the people that lived here already. And then we're like, this is our land now.
Also, even if that were the case, even if they came in and like every American, infantilization of the Trail of Tears was true, I can already say it doesn't matter because it has never and will never be a cogent argument to say that it should be as hard today as it was in the past for anyone ever.
Absolutely.
It doesn't. But
also, okay,
doesn't work that way.
If I play devil's advocate here and give his argument the best shot, he's not talking about people who can trace their ancestry back to the original settlers of the American continent. He's talking about people that like immigrated in the 1930s from Ireland or whatever. And it's like, okay, maybe, but like, still, the white people on the American continent trace their dominant position back to the fact that they genocided the natives, or at least tried to. So like, yeah, sure, there were signs saying Irish need not apply in New York City. But like...
This is your brain when you only consume PragerU.
Yeah.
Hold on. She is begging to be let out.
Well, I was just about to say, that was the last tweet, so...
Fair.
So
fair.
I can hear her making fun noises in the background.
Come here, Growlith. Come here. How are you doing? Jeez.
All right, so I will let Growlith go, and I will go. Like we're an hour and 15 minutes over time. We may as well say that this show ends at 11 at this point.
And it has the last couple times.
Yeah. Oh, hats off to me. Oh, I don't even know what to put on my head at this point. There, beer bottle. It's the end of the stream. As always, fuck off.